times were difficult. It took psychological support from doctors to stabilize me.
At the
entrance of the enclave, I meet two shop owners in a casual conversation. Their welding shops were among damaged shops. Today, they have come to pass time at their shops as they struggle to rebuild. Richard Echampon takes me to his most prized asset, a machine used heavily in metalworks. The machine, purchased 15 years ago at 25,000 cedis, is completely destroyed. Today, he needs over 300,000 cedis to replace the machine in the midst of struggling to rebuild his shop.
If you stay home, you will encounter too many questions. So we come here to avoid all that. If we get electricity, we can get small tools to start.
His friend Kwabena also is fortunate to have been able to reconstruct his shop, but for lack of tools and electricity connectivity, he continues to idle. Remnants of fire-ravaged vehicles remain parked at the middle of the enclave, a reminder of the recent disaster. About 9 heavy-duty trucks are among vehicles still standing in the garage. Kwame Amponsa, who is a heavy-duty truck builder, says the owners are aware of the disaster.
The
property lost to the fire in my shop alone is more than what was experienced at the markets. 7 heavy-duty cars were destroyed. We haven't heard from any government official.
Though some shops have been rebuilt, many struggle to put back their shops for financial reasons. For those who have rebuilt, tools to work have become the biggest challenge.
Some of my tools have become weak after the fire. They break easily, so we are mobilizing to get new ones.
After the fire, the Kumasi block of MPs visited the area to donate 50,000 cedis to help in rebuilding. Other political actors and governments are yet to respond to calls for help, especially after some financial help was extended to victims of the Edum PZ fire. Here are some affected persons sending a strong signal to the government.
No government official has been here to help. We want them to let us know if we aren't Ghanaians. All government officials have been to the market. We haven't seen them here yet. If we leave the job we do here, a lot will go wrong.
The artisans say restoration of electricity to the area by the Electricity Company of Ghana will be a major boost towards restoring the Zone 21 of Swami Magazine. For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
The Kaneshie market fire in 2020 left behind scorched stalls, displaced traders, and millions of cedis in losses. But it also sparked a shift in how the market approached safety. In response to the devastation, authorities established a dedicated fire service personnel right within the market. They now carry out routine inspections and offer regular safety education to traders in the market. Mr. Robert Jerry Agbadem, Deputy Managing Director of the Kaneshie Market, outlines the strategies that have helped avert further disasters.
We run a 24-hour service as far as our maintenance team and then the security teams are concerned. And so we have security personnel on duty 24/7. And so they ensure that every now and then there's somebody manning the entire market. All the shops, we ensure that they are closed. Nothing is left unattended to. And so by the time, before any fires spark or there's any sense of fire or smoke being detected anywhere, the security personnel and the maintenance team are able to detect it before it becomes something huge. More so, we have fire extinguishers, assembled at vantage points where as soon as there's any spark of fire, quickly it's attended to. The market women are also been educated to ensure that they are the first point of call when it comes to securing their wares. And so most of them have fire extinguishers. So in absence of our security team and then the maintenance team, they are also able to put out fires when it should occur.
Madam Eva Mason, a trader and secretary to the Market Association, tells JoyNews that she and her colleagues now feel much safer.
We are very safe in Kaneshie Market. One, the Market Association is very strong and we always collaborate with the management. So everything is okay with us here. And secondly, too, we meet every Wednesday. So when we meet, everybody brings his or her challenges to the executives and then we solve it. We have the fire service personnel here 24/7. They are always here and they go around and check. And with the security, every evening when we close and we go home, they come and check our switch outside. And everybody has fixed the switch in front of the shop. So they go around and check. If it's on, they put it off. So Kaneshie Market, we are safe 24/7.
And Edna Osei, one of the main victims of the fire 5 years ago, shares her story of recovery and renewed hope in a market that now stands more prepared than ever before, while encouraging her colleagues to ensure their goods.
For anything not to happen, we have meters. They've given us individual meters that we are using, that if anything happens, yours will just go off so that it will not affect a different shop. Those with extinguishers, they should get new ones to fill them. I've seen it myself. They come here, I see them. So I would like to urge everybody to do same because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. With management, I would say they are doing well because after the incident, they came to tell me to just get a camera. So I've installed cameras here, that if anything happens, they can capture and know what happened.
Here, we educate the market women mainly on fire safety and how to use their electrical gadgets, and also advise them whenever they've closed their shops, they should make sure all their electrical appliances are turned off. We also go around to check whether some of them are using these gas cylinders, electrical cookers and other stuff. If right now there is a fire here, we have fire extinguishers. So we try to use it to fight the fire at its initial stage. If it escalates, then we call for help.
As markets across the country continue to face the challenge of fire outbreaks, the Kaneshie Central Market stands out not because it was spared by chance, but because it chose to change. For JoyNews, Emefa Akosia Adeti.
The noise,
the anger,
the hostile opinion,
the spin around the issues,
the superficial colors and effects. But above all,
You can take away the misinformation and fake news.
The slander.
That misrepresentation.
That seeks to draw us back and divide us. That's when
You will know.
What's really happening?
That's when you will know. That's when you will know.
This is JoyNews. Fearless, independent, and credible.
Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
PS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as Colorlink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior. Syntax tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
It's a surprise move, unexpected, particularly by a government that was frontal in criticizing taxes, removing taxes, and promising not to introduce new taxes, to burdening the people the more. The 1 city Dumsor levy. We're asking this morning why the widespread disapproval. Ken Ofori-Atta, former finance minister, is a wanted man. Is he ill or evading accountability as he gets listed on Interpol's red alerts? We ride back to deal with the vexed matters. This is Newsfile. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini.
She's coming. She's coming.
Oh, it's in.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. Oh. She's here.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here. For now. Now I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, or be any what tank a sea chain. Yeah, yes, in test tank, I'm on a wired thing. And see, I want to say, Chow, and so still, a Juma, oh, weather. Who bet me a check? Hello, okay. Yeah, Bayamo, I won't yash. Ghana, if you be a water tank and a whole thing, auto synthesis tanker. You have 7 years warranty. Synthesis tank, you will lay a fitabi home. A bonus you by me with the hokwaji. And your papa change your canina. Say, dear, what's the day you to my hobby? And one is Syntex septic tank. Septic tanky, your size is BRB. Syntex, innovative, reliable, durable. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's Syntex tank.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Yeah, Bungo. Hey, again.
Hello, thank you for calling MTN.
Yeah, this is Jerry. Jolly J for short.
Hi Jerry, how may I help?
These days, I'm not happy with you guys at all.
What
you guys do is not cool, crowd.
How do you mean, sir?
You've been giving Bongo gifts all the time.
Who is Bongo?
Oh, Bongo, my friend. He purchased in my room. You don't know Bongo.
Oh.
You've been giving free gifts, but I don't. That not the gift is him.
That's MTN rewards, sir. You can also get freebies because on MTN, doing always gets rewarded. Doing more of the things you love. Talk, text, browse, and Momo more, and you get to redeem free call time or data by simply dialing *550#.
Oh, sir.
Yes, and on Fridays, you can even get extra special rewards like food vouchers, shopping discounts, and much more.
Didn't tell me anything, no. He will move out. Doing gets rewarded, eh? Hey, but your voice is really nice, so. Would you like to know how I got the name Jolly J?
That won't be necessary, Mr. Jolly. Calling customer care service doesn't give you points.
I'm gonna call my mom. I'll call my grandmom. I'll call my ex. That girl can talk, Papa. Hello, Mama. So what's the topic for today?
MTN.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And here is Samson Stake, Vice President on lifestyle audit and unexplained wealth orders. Yesterday, I moderated a high-level anti-corruption conference themed Revitalizing the Anti-Corruption Architecture in Africa, Ghana's Accountability Journey. This was the conclusion of the week-long peer assessment visit by the AU Advisory Board Against Corruption in Ghana. From Shraj Commissioner Dr. Joseph Whittal, Special Prosecutor Kisie Jabing, good governance and anti-graft CSO leaders and participants all express worry that our situation is only getting worse. Vice President Professor J. Nana Opoku-Agyeman wants us to confront the truth that indicators like the Corruption Perception Index, the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, and the 2022 Ghana Statistical Service Corruption Report confirm that we are not making progress in the fight. We are stagnating. That Statistical Service survey report revealed that a staggering 5 billion Ghana cedis was lost to bribery alone in 1 year. The IMF's assessment that our control of corruption has deteriorated over the last decade underscores the urgency to double up our efforts. She got loud applause when she endorsed the long-standing campaign for lifestyle audits and unexplained wealth orders or legislation. She said, revitalizing Ghana's anti-corruption architecture requires bold action across multiple fronts. We must legislate and universalize unexplained wealth orders, extending their application to both public officials and private citizens, a point the OSP underscored, while anchoring the principle of reverse burden of proof in our constitution. This has been a long-standing fight that corruption happens in the underworld. And to defeat it, you need the reverse burden of proof. The one that makes the complaint about corruption should not be the one with the burden to prove that somebody is acting corruptly. This must be the very first time our government has openly endorsed such law reform to effectively fight public sector and grant corruption. You check our constitution in Article 286, Clause 4, and it says, any property or asset acquired by a public officer after the initial declaration required by Clause 1 of this article and which is not reasonably attributable to income, gift, loan, inheritance, or any other reasonable source shall be deemed to have been acquired in contravention of the Constitution. That's where it ends. People assume public office and suddenly they acquire assets, property we know their income cannot support. We know they didn't take a loan for. We know they didn't get an inheritance or a gift to make that property. And all the Constitution says is that that acquisition is in contravention of the Constitution. And so what? That's why we need unexplained wealth orders that will empower the law enforcement agencies to collect, retrieve all these acquisitions. It is found that political funding is a major problem. A presidential candidate needs in excess of $100 million to have a successful campaign. The parliamentary aspirants also need a lot of money, and there is vote buying and vote selling all the time, starting from the primaries. But guess what our law says? That the Electoral Commission is supposed to ensure that a political party within 6 months from the 31st of December each year will file a return in a certain form specified by the Electoral Commission, indicating the state of its accounts, the sources of the funds, membership dues paid, contributions and donations in cash or kind, the properties of the party and time of acquisition, and such other particulars as the Commission may reasonably require, and more importantly, audited accounts of the party for the year. These are not being implemented, and it takes bold law reform as being envisaged to make this happen if we will win the fight against corruption. Professor Francis Dodu's office, the presidential advisor on the National Anti-Corruption Program, you have your job cut out for you. Ensure that the conduct of public officers' bail and related legislation make this possible. These are the projects that we, the citizens, will have no hesitation at all if they are passed under a certificate of urgency. My co-moderator, Nong Falong, had a perfect summary. Let's move from talk to action. And that is my take. We'll be right back.
Aye, malaria's remedy is Lonat. Therefore, we're gonna use Lonat to recover. You have malaria? Yes, please. Are you shivering? Yes, yes. You got chills? Yes, take Lonat. Lonat. First day, Lonat. Take Lonat. Second day, Lonat. Take Lonat. Lonat. Third day, Lonat. Take Lonat. That's all. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat it scatter malaria.
This advert is FDA approved.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain yen. Ya yes in test tank, I'm on a wired thing. And see about to say, Chow, and so still a Juma. Oh, weather. Who bet me a check, color, okay. Ye bayamo, I won't yash. Ghana ha, if you be a year water tank and a whole thing. Auto Syntex tanker. Ye mo 7 years warranty. Syntex tank. Ye will lay a fitabi room. A bonus yon by me with the hokwaji. And ye papa change your canina. Say dear, what's the dia yen 2 ma hob yo. And one is Syntex septic tank. Septic tanky. Your size is BRB. Syntex. Innovative, reliable, durable. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's Syntex tank.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
She's coming. She's coming.
Oh, it's in.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. Oh. She's here.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
Pascal is showing his boss the efficient new technology they've installed. She's pleased. But now she's asking, why is that still there? Pascal explains the new fleet-finding darts are more accurate than the old ones. The boss is not so pleased anymore. If you haven't automated your fleet management yet, it's time to get business done better with MTN Business.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And it came as a big surprise. I don't know if this was a surprise to the members of parliament as well, particularly those on the opposite side of the aisle. 1 liter per oil or fuel that you buy will attract 1 Ghana cedi tax. The Energy Sector Levies Amendment Bill 2025. That is what it means. And this has now been christened the Dumsor levy. And there's been such disapproval for it. And I must note that there appears to be near an equal number of people, including stakeholders, who also say, well, we can't do anything about this. We must embrace it because we are better off than not having it. So, what do you say about this new levy? Dr. Bawumia has been speaking. He says the NDC, they promised to scrap e-levy, and they did. But what they have done next is that they have introduced a new tax that is 8 times worse. That the so-called Dumsor levy. Where do we go from here? What other surprises must we expect? My guests join us to look at this matter. Felix Kwakye Ofosu is Minister of State, Government Communications. Godfrey Bokpeng is Professor of Finance and Economist, University of Ghana. Dennis Miracles Abuaje is aide to Dr. Bawumia. Kofi Bento, Rebel, is lawyer and Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. Kofi, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. You are earliest.
Thank you for having me again.
Professor Bokpeng, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Samson. Good morning, Mr. Kofi Bento, my senior. And good morning to our co-panelists, Honorable Phyllis Sukachi, and good morning to all Ghanaians. Thank you for having me on your show.
Right. Let's take a peek into Parliament and the happenings there briefly, and then I'll come to start with you, Prof, because you seem to say, like Dr. John, like President Mahama has been saying, that this was not a decision we took lightly. Though difficult, it is necessary and justifiable. You seem to speak just like he has done. Let's check Parliament and return.
With all the justification, what stopped him from engaging this side of the House? This morning, I must be honest that the majority leader whispered to me that something of urgent importance, of urgent value would come. Mr. Speaker, it is only important that we engage and you let us know. You come with your justification. You came here to present your budget. You presented your budget saying you are not going to introduce new taxes, new levies. Then you turn around, you say you are repealing e-levy. You are all over the place. Now you are bringing back e-levy. And then you say that the Ghanaian public will not feel it. Mr. Speaker, you repeal e-levy, reintroduce e-levy. That's what you are doing. What are you? This is the e-levy. You have introduced e-levy. Then you say that you run it through certificate of urgency. Mr. Speaker,
honorable members,
the e-levy being introduced.
Honorable members, this is a house of record.
What is it?
Honorable members, this is a house of record. The bill introduced, which I have just referred, is energy sector levies bill.
E-levy.
So this is not electronic levy.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, allow the minority to have its say. You allowed the minister to speak. What is energy sector levy? Short form e-levy, is it not it? The energy. What is energy? Is it not E? How do you spell energy? Is it not capital E? The short form of the law, the levy, is e-levy. You are reintroducing e-levy. That's what you are doing. Reintroducing e-levy. And you are going to tax Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, and you say under certificate of urgency.
$1 Ghana cedi each when they buy a liter of fuel so that we can end Dumsor. That's all. 1 cedis. All of us should contribute 1 cedis. Just 1 cedi per, so that we can end Dumsor. 1 cedi. Each of us, when we buy fuel, 1 liter.
The prices are going down.
1 cedi. And Mr. Speaker, it is not e-levy. It's not e-levy. That is what it is.
Governance is a balancing act, and that is why we are appealing to Ghanaians that will give you a reduction already from the 16 to about 13, which is about 3 cedi reduction, so that at 13 or 12, we can also use 1 cedi to sustain electricity for productivity. Whilst we take steps to increase gas consumption, reduce the losses, bring about efficiency. And already we are putting in place mechanisms that's showing that in the electricity sector we are seeing some positive results.
Yes, so Professor Bokwing, that's what's happening on the floor of Parliament. First of all, do you think it was fair on the minority to spring this on them as a surprise?
Good morning once again, Samson. Yeah, I think that the procedure, the lack of consultation and all of that takes away a lot from these whole discussions. Government should take another look. We should learn from it. Yeah, Clearly, there was no way you could discern this coming from the presentation of the 2025 budget and also government's own push following the of those new taxes, and we all agree that those taxes have to go. So from that perspective, I'm thinking that where I'm able to make some room for this particular levy is coming from the fact that we've seen, with some people a bit of a surprise, we've seen the aggressive strengthening of the local currency, and therefore that creates some kind of a window. And I believe that in itself might have triggered why government felt that this is the time to introduce this, because yes, it may not be popular, but because the impact of the one Ghana cedi levy, given the scope that has been created as a result of the aggressive strengthening of the currency and also the pass-through, perhaps they can make a case for this and then begin to accumulate the necessary resources. Because even though you may have leadership and we want to do the right thing, your ability to do that also depends on how much resources you are able to mobilize immediately. That is not to take away the fact that
if you are looking at it as a sort of a windfall from the city's performance,
yes,
what is going on with there's no sunset clause to the tax?
Yes, my considered view is that there should have been an indication that this is not going to be a permanent levy handout. I think government should take another look. I'm able to justify this if I look at from the windfall point of view. Already there's been some kind of a windfall when it comes to the growth and sustainability levy. If you see the adjustment with respect to mining companies, because we've seen upward trend in gold prices and also in terms of volume. So government should look at it from that perspective. The analysis I have done here, I'm looking at the export price for, let's say, petrol per liter end of February, where approximately we are looking at 12 Ghana cedis. And then end of February, we are looking at something close to 16 Ghana cedis export price for a liter for petrol. And then May, we are looking at something around 12. So if you look at the margin there, there's a savings of almost more than 3 Ghana cedis over the period. The average savings, we are looking at something around 3.2 and all of that. The question is, do you pass on all these gains to the consumer? I believe that from that perspective, if you are saying that, okay, we are holding back 1 Ghana cedi and we pass on the rest, that is fine. But to the extent that that favorable condition continue to persist, then you can continue to justify this. But when things reverse or change, given the formula that we are also using, then government should be able to come back to the people of Ghana and say that we don't have enough reason to continue to levy this, and we are taking it out because we've seen the world oil price change drastically. We've seen the cedi also, or these other variables. For that reason, we feel that we can cushion Ghanaians by removing this levy. And let me give you an example. When COVID came in 2020, Cote d'Ivoire and some other countries actually decided to remove levies and taxes on some of the items that they import as a way of limiting the impact on consumers. The losses have to be accounted for in one way or the other, but they also decided to cut expenditure considerably. Now, if I look at the 2025 budget, and that is where I have a soft side for this levy. If I look at the 2025 budget and I look at the steep expenditure cuts, I think for the first time in a while now, we haven't seen anything like that in terms of the wasteful expenditure cut. And I see that this is leadership from that point of view. Even if you look at the budgetary allocation to the office of the president, vice president, even the speaker, the judiciary wasn't spread and all of that. Something in nominal terms, we saw expenditure go down in 2025 relative to 2024 in excess of 10 billion cedis, right? Again, when you look at government gross financing needs in 2025, we are looking at something around 44 billion Ghana cedis compared to the gross financing needs of 2024, in excess of 60 billion Ghana cedis. That reduction in expenditure, called that one expenditure-based fiscal consolidation, and then also the shock therapy, the way the minister calls it, that has conferred some kind of advantage, which is also, given what is happening from the monetary side, and then also improved supply. We've seen the aggressive strengthening of the currency. Of course, you can't discount totally the global dynamics, but if you look at how currencies across Sub-Saharan Africa have responded to these global shocks, you can see that the case of Ghana also has more, in fact, more to do with what is happening internally, from fiscal discipline, from prudent monetary policy, and how the FX is being managed.
Right.
For now, Bank of Ghana has greater control and influence over FX inflows, and we are able to spill that to the market. That is how I'm looking at it. But hello, something.
Yes, let's move on. Let's move on from the substantive points in support of it, the environment, the fiscal environment, and everything. There is opposition for it. Did you expect this opposition? The opposition party is planning, a demonstration in Kumasi. We have the Ghana Private Road Transport Unions also planning a strike on June 10 if this is not reversed.
Yes, I think given the way it was introduced and all of that, certainly stakeholders would have expected some kind of consultation. But of course, I believe that it's not too late for government to engage them. I see that, so something, if you look at the IMF supported program and then the energy sector recovery plan, and the progressivity in terms of upward utility adjustment that we needed to do in order to restore the energy sector the way it should, I think that this may be a bit of a low, at least cost approach to achieving that to some extent. Again, if you look at the formula that we use to adjust for utility prices, it's not all the variables that are captured, right, totally in the formula. Even when it comes to the procurement of fuel. It's also, again, it comes down to how we negotiated some of these contracts, take or pay, commercial rate, and yet we agree to procure fuel for them and all of that. So I think it's not too late. Government should engage, and we should engage with the data and explain why this is more needful now, so we're able to procure fuel. I also agree that we need strong reforms in the energy sector. Some will bear fruit immediately, some in the medium to the long term. But I think at this moment, I I have a soft side towards this levy. That is my position.
Right now, hold on. Listen to Baumia and tell me if he's right or he's not. You were against e-levy. This is 8 times worse than e-levy. Listen to Baumia.
NDC for Omuchan Trobebre. Every day, Obiehu Entra Omucha. And Rana Jo, someone in Amo, Omudi Dumsor Levy Aba. Dumsor Levy. So first, almost e-levy. Nayedi Aba. Omubeyi e-levy, no Omubeyi. And then Omudi Dumsor Levy Aba. It is 8 times the e-levy. And then uto 1 liter of petrol, 1 cedi no ubetria. Uto 1,000 cedis of petrol, ubetria 83 cedis. 83 cedis as tax. E-levy no usende obi 1,000 momwa, ubetria 10 cedis. And then betua 4,000 betua 83 cedis for fuel. We nimina more beba. By the time you be do 2028 no Ghana nyina be hu se omutwa ntro bebre mimi gidi se omube kan kire say yensan ba biom embafa aban no ensiesie Ghana.
So speaking Twi actually is quite a bit difficult for him, but he does well with it. If he were speaking English, he would have done it a lot more better than you would have heard him do. The point is that he says that this new tax is 8 times worse. And he tries to give us a picture of the enormity of what we have. To say 1 cedi on 1 liter doesn't paint the correct picture. Because if I go to the pump right now and I'm buying fuel worth, say, 1,000 cedis, how much am I paying on that? That's the picture he's giving us. Is he correct or is not?
Yes, he has a point. If you look at it in terms of volume consumption, right? So the more you buy, the more you pay, right? Again, some people can make the argument that speaks to the fact that there is progressivity in here.
And nobody really buys 1 liter of fuel, correct?
Yes, nobody does that.
So people will be paying a lot more.
The other bit to take into consideration is that if you look at end of February to, let's say, May, using the same argument, consumers have made considerable savings. End of February, you are looking at a liter of around 16 Ghana cedis average. May, you are looking at averagely around 12. That's huge savings depending on your level of consumption also. So if you situate that with this levy, then the impact is quite moderate. And again, conceptually, and from a more theoretical point of view, you cannot situate the e-levy transaction or tax side by side with this levy. Not at all.
Okay.
Dr. Baumia himself agrees that e-levy, as we have come to know it, fails to meet all the basic principles of taxation that we know.
All right.
From economics point of view, because it's very difficult to situate that whether it's a consumption tax, income, or capital gains or whatever. But then if you look at this one and the focus, yes, yes, of course, in terms of 1 Ghana cedi levy per day, others have also spoken about the fact that it's quite high. Why not 50 pesos or so?
Thank you, Professor Bokwing.
I am tempted to believe that if government could package this more as a temporary, and it should be seen as.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Professor Bokwing. Let me return to the studio now, and Felix joins us. Thanks for making time to join us, sir. Right. Maybe I should get a quick from you before I go round. Very brief. Why should I be paying for the inefficiencies of the government, so to speak? We know that the power problem has to do with ECG. That's a big part of it. So why should I be subsidizing someone's inefficiency?
Well, it's an important point. Perhaps it's the most important question in all these debates. Let me begin by saying that as a government, we understand fully the disquiet that Ghanaians have expressed, the anxiety that has greeted this measure. It's perfectly understandable because we are talking about people who have endured terrible hardships in the last 8 years. Taxes have been piled upon them. Their cost of living has gone through the roof, and they have endured a lot of suffering, which in any event was the reason why they booted out the MPP in the manner that they did. So it is to be expected that any additional measure would attract some concern, and we respect that fully. Except that we are at a juncture that requires decisive action. Otherwise, this whole economy will be brought down by the energy sector. To begin with something, it is true that there's inefficiency, and I will speak to some of it. The horrible criminal happenings at ECG and elsewhere that have led us to this particular juncture. Something. Even before this government took over, and let me stress that there's a government that has been in place for barely 6 months, even before we took over, to begin with, we had to deal with what we call energy legacy debt of 67 billion Ghana cedis. That is even before we lifted a finger as a government. Now, this is not debt that you can ignore. You have to pay. And it piles on for as long as it remains on your books. And it is not as though we have done nothing about it. Samson, this year, if you look at the budget, the finance minister is giving the energy minister 23 billion Ghana cedis to settle part of this debt. 23 billion Ghana cedis. Now, this debt has come about because, as we all know, perhaps we don't talk about it much, but as we all know, even if ECG collected all the monies due them, the money will not be up to how much is spent to produce power and distribute it. If ECG collected all the money. And that is because of the way that the tariff is structured. That is the first point. So, under recoveries is one of the reasons why we have a 67 billion Ghana cedi. And this has been there for decades. The second point is that arising out of deliberate policy of the Akufo-Addo administration, this legacy debt was compounded. For many years, a critical component for producing power, which is the purchase of fuel, was not added to the tariff. The president and cabinet took a decision that consumers should not pay for that, but government will pay for it. Samsung, they did not pay for it. So all the liquid fuel they bought, a significant part of it remains unpaid for. So it is debt that you and I have to shoulder. The criminal mismanagement of the exchange rate, and I heard Baumia Waxen Levy as I came in. His mismanagement of the exchange rates led to a situation where between July 2022 to November that year, the dollar or the cedi exchanged at the dollar for 17 cedis. It rose from 6 cedis to $1 to 17 cedis. That is an addition of 11 cedis. And you know that IPPs are paid in dollars. And some of the inputs into power generation are bought in dollars. So once this happened, huge debt was accrued. And then, of course, there's the ECG collection. Something you recall that the Akufo-Addo administration claimed that they had reduced electricity tariff sometime in 2018. It was not because the factors that led to production had reduced in terms of their cost. They just asked the ECG to reduce electricity tariff. In order to make that sustainable, they should have paid the difference, which would have been a subsidy, something they didn't pay. So it's added to this debt. You remember that during COVID, they said that they had reduced electricity prices to cushion the consumer. It is all well and good to do so, but they needed to pay for the cost of producing that electricity. Something they did not pay. Then fuel that has been supplied, they didn't pay. In addition to the Samson, the Sankofa gas fields. You know that in order to get the project going, we needed to establish a guarantee, what they call a partial risk guarantee. It cost $500 million, and actually the World Bank gave us money to do so. But it was not a gift. It was something that had to be paid for. In addition to this, GMPC also brought $120 million, making it $620 million. Then the car power arrangement also required a guarantee. So Litasco produced $170 million in guarantee. Again, because of the criminal mismanagement of the economy, something they did not pay the players in this sector. So the players drew down on this guarantee in excess of $800 million. But those guarantees must be restored. And it's actually an IMF requirement. In fact, some of them have reached as far as the U.S. Senate. And you've heard U.S. senators who have started making noise, that the plug should be put on the IMF program because we owe these amounts. So these guarantees have to be re-established. If you put all of this together, you get 67 billion Ghana cedis, which is debt that must be paid. Government this year is giving the energy ministry 23 billion. So if we continue on that trajectory, in 3 years, we should pay it off. But something, if this were the only problem, it would not have been an issue because we have shown clear commitment that we will pay. In addition to this, every year, as we go forward, there's a shortfall in the electricity sector, meaning that there's a certain amount of money that must be paid because of how the tariff is structured. The critical one is the purchase of fuel. So forget about what has built up before we came to power. This year, $1.2 billion has to be coughed up by governments in order to buy fuel. Because the electricity bill you and I pay does not include the cost of fuel. So even as we are paying the legacy debt, more debt is going to compound if we don't find a way around this. There's something called reserve margin, or others used to call it excess capacity. Of course, the MPP engages in some shallow populism. They make it seem that it is criminal to have excess capacity. Nobody will invest in a power plant in Ghana if you don't give him a guarantee that that plant is not going to sit idle. Because it doesn't make sense to come and build a plant which is idle. And every power system must have a reserve margin. So that argument that the MPP makes is completely flawed. It is populist. In substance, there's nothing in it. And they have not signed one agreement that doesn't have a take or pay clause. Otherwise, the investors won't come, especially in a time where you are catching up, you have significant shortfall. In any event, all the excess capacity that we left, something has been used up. Today, as we speak, demand meets supply exactly. And there's no reserve margin. So, if we don't do something about it and even overlook the legacy debts, we are still going to pile up more debt if we don't find a solution to the fuel problem. Of course, naturally, you would say that, okay, so it is not part of the tariff calculation, so we'll add it. So if we do that, electricity prices will rise by 50%, which will impose too much hardships in our view. So we reckon that the most efficient way to do it is to add it to fuel. And also because, and as I worked in, Professor Abokwin was making the point, because of the gains we've made with the city, there's been a significant drop in the price of fuel. Under the MPP, at the time, fuel sold for 20 cedis a gallon, diesel, and petrol was going for around 17 cedis a gallon. But please let me lie, this is extremely important, Sans, I beg you. So that drop means that today, the average Ghanaian is paying far less for fuel than they did just 5 or 6 months ago. So it is going to cushion consumers in that the effect of this additional 1 cedi will be negligible or non-existent. Remember that the original ESLA, which was imposed in 2015 to address some of these problems, actually was also imposed at a time when there was a similar drop. That time, it was the world market price that had dropped, so it meant that fuel prices were going to drop significantly. And then we brought it in there in order to generate revenue to address some of the problems that I have highlighted. So it is not an easy decision to make. And as I indicated, we understand fully that people will be agitated. It is to be expected. We respect that. Nobody quarrels with that. But if we don't do this debt overhang, which is no fault of ours, Samson, will drag us. And Samson, let me also make the point about the comparison with the Levy. You see, if Dr. Baumia, in all the 8 years the MPP was in power, had imposed only the Levy, it wouldn't have been a problem. Ghanaians responded the way they did because by that time, over 30 other taxes had either been imposed or increased under Baumia, who is complaining. In the period that we've been in power, Sam, how many taxes have we imposed? This is the first one we have had to do. That is even after removing about 3 taxes. And there are some others that we will look at. The COVID levy, which the finance minister indicated is a going review. And when he presents his next budget, we'll be talking to. So, yes, Ghanaians have a right to complain. We respect that, but this is necessary. But there's a final point that I need to make, which is extremely important. The reason why we have even had to use liquid fuel, something, is that as I speak, annually, about 420 million standard cubic feet of gas a day is used up in power generation in Ghana. Even with that, there is still a gap of 150 million standard cubic feet a day. If we had that gas, we wouldn't need to import fuel. But we have to import fuel because of that shortfall. Now, gas is much cheaper. If you use gas, you need just $10 to get 1 MMBTU, which is the unit that is used to measure. The equivalent of that alone is $61 per barrel of oil. $61 per barrel of oil. So this levy is an interim measure meant to fill that gap. I am aware, and indeed I'm part of the committee that is working on the establishment of the second gas plant, which will enable us more than meet the gas demand for power generation. We expect that to come on stream in 3 to 4 years. Once that happens, fuel purchases would not be necessary. And indeed, the reason why the fuel purchase has even become a problem is a result of the MPP government policy. You know, in the past, it was VRE that was doing the importation. Through a fiat, they said ECG should do the importation. And then they brought in all manner of entities, Stratcom and Co., to start the importation. And yet they were unable to pay them.
Okay.
And this is what has led to
so
this.
now you can rest
problem.
here. Yeah, you can rest here for me. I had intended, Kofi, I'm coming to you. I had intended this to be his brief introductory, entrance, but this will be his substantive. The brief introductory entrance has meant about 15 minutes of submission on the substantive points that they are making. And Kofi, I'm hearing Felix and asking myself, but they knew about this when they were campaigning and promising that, we were overburdened with taxes and we didn't need taxes to, make progress, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a certain level of dishonesty amongst all our politicians, and it's worrying. That dishonesty, it has eroded trust. And that's where you're going. So didn't they know this? So let me put it this way. For the past 20 years, we have been fed constantly by both parties with all kinds of numbers and analysis of energy economics and fuel dynamics, and all, which we don't care about. And at the end of the day, you see crass incompetence. Meanwhile, Samson, as this goes on, the people in charge, the ministers, the politicians, are making millions of dollars over this crisis. Felix just said something. He said, if ECG collected 100% of all revenue, it will still be insufficient to pay the energy debt.
The experts have said this.
Yes, I know that too. That is the definition of incompetence. It means there is no way of solving this problem, and that is not your fault or mine. It is not my mother's fault. They have to solve that problem. And for 20 years, look, before President Mahamad's first term, we had been coming towards Dumsor, and analysts like myself and many others said, we are going to hit a rock, we are going to hit a rock. They sat down, they made these arguments back and forth, and were incompetent, did not solve it. Around President Mahamad's time, it hit us in the face. We went through years of Dumsor. People died and suffered. I had to organize demonstrations before they set up. Then when they sort of fixed it, after signing all kinds of agreements which profited them corruptly, the new government comes in, NDC. And let me give President Mahama some credit for ESLA. ESLA made sense. ESLA had the potential to deal with it. Then you have the MPP come in, and my own dear friend, Ken, and the people who are running it, did the crazy thing of putting ESLA where it did not belong. I don't want to go into all this, but when they did the capping and other things, and then they collateralized ESLA and all those things. And remember, we criticized them. We were extremely critical of them. Then you have a situation where the problem compounds. Even though they kept the lights on, more or less, the debt they came to meet is the debt they leave. Okay? So you have a situation where our politicians who are paid, and these are the Article 71 people, they pay themselves world-class wages. They have to solve the problems. They don't solve the problems. Unfortunately for all of us, they rather profit from the chaos, and then when they finish, they tax us again. All right? So look, at the end of the day, you heard Prof. Bokpin. Me and Prof. Bokpin, we are nerds. We like data. We analyze those things. We can speak to them for the whole day. But I'm telling you, nobody remembers what he talked about. You had Felix spend 15 minutes explaining all these things. It's your job. Nobody cares about it. When you travel to places where leaders work, you don't know where they bought the gas from or whether they are using crude oil or nuclear energy. Your lights stay on. Please, sit up, do your work. Because consistently they come at us with this and that, and then when the problem comes, they come and explain all kinds of things that we don't care about. If you are competent, solve the problem. And look, it's a bipartisan problem.
But they are entitled to take you back to the history. And for example, and as I hear it's beginning to be mentioned, I think last week, the U.S. ambassador who is leaving now had an interview with my friend Bernard, and he spoke up about the MCC, the Millennium Challenge accounts. Mm-hmm. We were going to benefit in excess of, is it 316 million US dollars in it. Mm-hmm. Then we did the first tranche, the second tranche. The NPP came in, they botched it with the PDS, meaning the problem would have been improved, would have been better off. So they must tell these stories. That is what I'm saying. And tell you why they are making
I'm telling you that we have a bipartisan problem of ineptitude. Mm. This PDS problem, I was kicked off a committee. And this is in camera. The committee sits in camera. Because I started saying, where you're going, it won't work. I ended up in court. And all kinds of things happened. My problem is, if we had competent managers, let me say this, Simpson, the problem in our energy sector will not be solved by taxes. The problem in our energy sector is a problem of incompetence and corruption. The people who run the energy sector, check, when they leave very rich.
Presently, it's a problem of money.
Presently, it is a problem of incompetence and corruption. Listen, let me make this clear. The tax looks like it is necessary because somebody has to pay that bill. I think if we had a competent government, they will structure, and we fought for deregulation, again, my own Imani. And when, people forget, but when we got deregulation in the first few months, fuel prices went down. Okay? If they did their work well, and then they taxed us, we will pay on condition that these problems will not recur and the incompetence and corruption will not continue. Because after paying, after doing ESLA, after putting all kinds of levies back and forth, we still are left with the problem. So see, as far as I'm concerned, the NPP is entitled to play politics with it. Because the NDC did the same. But who suffers? We suffer. Let me make this clear. E-levy is not the same as the Dumsor levy. E-levy was far less than the Dumsor levy. But e-levy was
That's the point Dr. Bawumia makes.
Yes, but e-levy was more annoying and was more unjustified. All right, hear me. That's why I opposed it. I still think it was not necessary. This levy is far more than the e-levy. But it is not as annoying. It is not unjustified under the circumstance. But the circumstance is a circumstance that is caused by ineptitude and corruption.
You're not talking about what annoys us. We are talking about what burdens us.
Well, what burdens you is incompetence and corruption. And I'm telling you that. That's why, look, I pray that this tax will solve the problem. Mark it, I say here, it won't solve the problem. So let us find the actual solution to the problem. And I mentioned that ESLA had a ray of hope. Okay, why are we not re-looking at ESLA? All right, we need to find a way to solve it. I didn't hear Felix tell me that this will solve the problem. And I said that at the end of the day, he has said, even if ECG collects 100%, who sells fuel and makes a loss?
Kofi, are you thinking the way I'm thinking, that the lack of consultation, the ambush manner in which this was presented was intended to escape, you know, the opposition that consultations would have brought in and the pressure that would have said, hell no, we don't want it?
Yes. They, you know, brought this in the way they did because they wanted to avoid what I'm saying. Okay, an analysis of the thing and an exposure of the fact that first Dumsor happened under JM. Before then, we saw the problem coming. They didn't do anything. So they want to avoid that. They, you know, put it in.
But that is what you in CSOs have always said. That's bad governance.
It is bad. That is what I'm saying. We are suffering the effects of bad governance, and we are seeing it in our energy sector. Ordinary people suffer because of that. So what I'm simply saying is this, honestly. If this was going to solve the energy problem, I will support it. What I'm saying is, it is more than e-levy, so NPP have a right to go up against it. Okay, but it is less annoying. and under the circumstance, more justified than e-levy.
If they had
but
opened it
the
up,
same incompetence persists. I don't see the changes we need to see to put the right people in the right places. Ask them who has been buying the fuel. Okay, you end up with politicians around, and they are dealing in fuel, etc. Look, there are really competent people and engineers in this country who can solve this problem. But there's so much money. There's tens and hundreds of millions of dollars sloshing around in that sector. Okay, people come into office and they think that they must corner that space. So in short, this I don't think will solve the problem.
Are you as concerned as those who say, because there's no sunset clause to this, it makes it even worse to speak about the fact that we are trying to take a benefit from a windfall from the CD's performance?
Exactly. In fact, in another place, what I said is they just impose this tax. In places where proper governance works, you subject the idea to scrutiny. In academia, they call it peer review. But in governance, you subject it to think tanks and other people. What is the energy problem? The amount of money we need? How much are we going to make from this? How do we connect the problem to the solution? How long is this going to take? Is it going to go on forever? Will another one come at another time? We have not had sufficient justification. They owe it to us to explain. So as we speak, we are just going to be paying these taxes. And yes, the fuel price has gone down. They are taking credit for it. They must take credit for it because they are in government. But the same way it went down, the same way it can go up. And if it goes up, what happens? Okay, so some of these things which affect people, we need more discussions, we need more credibility around it. Not the usual politics which leads one party to walk away, and then they just impose it because they are here and, they are on a high. All right, and we are going to go through this for 4 years or for how many years, and we don't know if it will solve the problem.
Okay. Dennis Miracles, now, well justified, as Kofi says, and also Professor Bokwin says, the NPP can go on a demonstration because opposition is supposed to hold government to account, and so on and so forth. The private, Ghana Private Road Transport Union, they say they are going on a strike from the 10th or so if there is no reversal of this. Why will you be in support of such a situation and against this tax if you know that we have as much as $8.94 billion US dollars energy sector shortfall payment ahead of us between 2023 and 2026?
Something, a betrayal. Betrayal of the trust of the people is the reason why anybody would speak up against this. That's all. For me, I don't think there is any sin graver than betrayal of trust. The situation we find ourselves is simply a clueless, everlasting, incompetent bunch of arrogant braggarts who, Felix, I beg you. You called us criminal and all manner of things. I didn't speak, I beg you. You spoke for 15 minutes. Don't interrupt.
I haven't said it.
No. You are interjecting me. Don't do that. You spoke for 15 minutes.
Go ahead.
A clueless, everlasting, incompetent bunch of arrogant braggarts who have simply scammed their way into government. That's all. And that is why you see the people speaking. I mean, he's right. This is not the first tax or levy the people of this country are paying. We are already paying, and we keep paying, and they will add more, we'll pay. But the reason why the people will speak up against this is because you came to tell them A, and you are doing B. You betrayed their trust. The fiduciary relationship that the NDC built with the people of this country while they were in opposition, the big talk, the plenty grammar, all the blabbing they did, knowing the gravity of the issues at hand, and they said they have solutions. And they were emphatic. He said, we will solve this without burdening you with additional tax. In fact, the finance minister in his budget, I think paid 264 or so, the 2025 budget, actually mentioned ESLA and all the reviews, but it went ahead to indicate that they are not going to add anything. The finance minister is caught on tape at his vetting when he was asked that all these plenty things you are saying your government will do. When you come to office, you are at the same time saying you remove this tax, you remove this tax, you remove this tax. How are you going to do these things? He said, in this country, I have studied the economy of this country for a very long time, and I do not need to add new revenue handles to be able to deal with the issues.
He said you do not necessarily.
Yes. That's what he said.
That's a caveat.
No, but the context is important. The context was specifically, you are removing all these taxes. You are making all these promises. How are you going to deal with the gap? He said, don't worry. I have studied this for a very long time. I would emphasize on compliance to make up for the money. He even went on to talk about all these tax refunds, which he said that if he deals with the tax refunds by reducing it from 6% to 4%, the amount of money he will make is far more than all the taxes he's removing. That is the reason why the people are talking. And when we talk, you tell us to shut up, and you are taking us to history and giving us historical background about how debt came about. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why? We go to bed on Tuesday. We go to sleep on Tuesday. Wake up Wednesday morning with a 4 cedi 50 pesos on every gallon of petrol we buy in this country. And you are telling us we should keep quiet because I am MPP, because I squeeze banana into my vehicle? Why do you think the MPP lost the elections by the margin with which we lost? It is because you told the people that you won't do this to them. If the people knew you were going to remove Levy, remove non-existent, what I mean non-existent, I mean nobody paid, emission tax, and ask for claps and applause, and bring them 4 cedi 50 pesos per gallon 2 months later, you think they'll be clapping for you? You went to squeeze the hands of GPRTU and force them to reduce transport fares by 15%, telling them about how you have brought the cedi you up and brought dollar up, for which reason fuel prices have come down and so they should remove it, knowing very well that you have already prepared your memorandum for a 4 cedi 50 pesos on a gallon of fuel. That is dishonesty. That is leadership of insincerity. If the JPRTU knew there was a 4 cedi 50 pesos per gallon coming, Samson, they would not have agreed to the 15%. At best, they would have dealt with another percentage, maybe lower than 15%. Today, as we speak, an Uber driver who is using a VET car is paying close to 42 cedis every day to government for free. And you are saying we shouldn't talk about it? And then you come and tell us that, oh no, we have reduced burden. We have given you gold on the street of Ghana, and so now we can afford to slap all manner of levy on you. And then they keep lying. Oh, when we when we came to power, fuel prices were 17 cedis. That's a complete falsehood. As a matter of fact, when we are speaking to these things, let's speak to facts. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo handed over to power to the NDC with fuel at 14 cedis 99 pesos. That is the fact. On 7 January, I have it here. This is Guel. Star Oil is here.
What?
Is here. Is here.
What fuel?
Is here. Is here. It's here. Celia, you can read it. Thursday, 2nd January 2025.
Celia, read the whole thing. What fuel?
Super XP 14.99.
Yeah,
Diesel XP 15.60. Super XP 95. The 15.60.
What is the price now?
But what's the price of Super XP?
Now.
What's the price of Super XP now? Tell me. Is it 17 cedis? Was it 17 cedis?
No, what is the price now?
No, hold on. You see, and again, Phyllis, stop interjecting me. Write your notes like I did, and I'll speak to it. The fact is that you have been peddling falsehood. Even this morning, you've done it. Nobody was buying fuel at 17 cedis.
Nobody ever bought fuel at 17 cedis under the MPP. Is that what you are saying?
Someone said, are you going to allow this?
So context is important.
No, but nobody bought fuel at 17 cedis at the time
nobody bought fuel at 17 cedis under the MPP.
He's qualified. He's qualified so then, at the time they handed over power.
So where is the lie?
But
didn't you ever buy fuel at 17 cedis?
Thank you. Hold on. Yes, Dennis.
See, we cannot allow the people we pay with our taxes to mislead the public. The fact is that you took over power with fuel at 14 cedis, not 17 cedis. That is fact.
I didn't say we took over
power. Can I just speak and you make your notes?
But you are putting words into my mouth.
Can I just speak and you make your notes?
All right.
When you get the chance, you see, now you've taken close to about 2 minutes of my time.
No,
it's true. I've done 6 minutes.
He hasn't taken 2 minutes.
It's wrong. Don't do that. Because I could do that to you.
I have never.
So you see, you never took. So what NDC have actually done is that today I look at Guel and Star Oil. And I realized that Guel is selling Super XP at 12 cedis 52 pesos. It was 14 cedis 99 pesos. In actual sense, it's 2 cedis and about some pesos that the ADC have brought fuel down. That is the truth. That is the truth. But the whole week they've been peddling that falsehood of 17 cedis and they brought it to 12 cedis. That is false. And I think it's important to situate it in that context. Number 2, you don't come and tell us that because in your view, you have reduced burdens on us, you can decide to wake up in the middle of the night without consulting us and slap any taxes you want on us and we should keep quiet. That will not happen. As we speak today, between January and now, cement prices have gone up by about 45 cedis. 45 Ghana cedis, Samson. That is the burden you have reduced. Tomatoes, which you did politics with, which was costing about 2 for 10 cedis, is today costing 1 for 10 cedis. Texpo market, Malata market right here. That is the burden you have reduced. Iron rods are skyrocketing. That is the burden you have reduced. And when you ask them to show evidence of the impact of the appreciation of the dollar, do you know what they do? They point you to the glamour stores on Spintex, East Legon, Cantonment, and Laboni. And they show you banners of these shops who are selling sofas for $60,000 and $70,000, who have reduced their prices and tell you that that is Ghanaian burden reduced. You and I know in this country something. Everybody watching us know. And this is a very serious matter. We're not going to allow this government to basically gaslight us and get away with it. You know that in this country, what truly affects prices of the day-to-day Ghanaian is fuel.
Correct.
That is the truth.
It affects everything.
So we were all happy. Was I not here when I even applauded this government and I said that I am not one of the people who would say that any other person is responsible for the dollar appreciation other than the government. You are there. It's like being in a football match, whether you coach the team right or not, when they win, it is your win. So they should take that credit. But of what use is it for you to appreciate a cedi to dollar by some 3-4 cedis and then increase the fuel prices at a time when we're going to enjoy the benefits? Because the only reason why transport fares were reduced was because fuel prices have gone down.
Right.
So today, if you come and add 1 cedi to transport fares, GPRT have already signaled that they are going to go back. And you know how GPRT operates. Whenever they come down 1, they go back 2 or 3 steps forward.
But do you understand them? Why are they not saying we will also revert to the price rather than say we are going on strike?
I mean, they do that all the time. This is not the first time. They've even done the strike before. It's not like a threat. They've done, even 2024, they did it. So we'll discuss that. But the fact of the matter is that the reality is what we are confronted, not the grammar. The reality is that you told the people when you come, you won't do this. Today you are doing that. That is what we need to deal with.
But do you think that's the real reason why you lost as massively as you did? Because you said the reason why do you think we lost the election the way we did? It was because you promised them that you will not bring taxes.
Yes, the economy pockets.
But people also remember that you promised that Tisika so accommodate.
And we couldn't deliver.
And that you were going to make gains from corruption.
And we couldn't deliver. Stay there. That is why the people said, you said you would do it, so we'll vote for you. That is the reason why the Ghanaian people voted for you. Otherwise, why else do you think they queued to vote for you? You went to tell them that the things the MPP said they would do for you, they couldn't do for you. Vote for us. Now let's come to this whole energy thing. Let's put it on record. Something you and I know, and that is also fact. The MPP did not criminally, like he put it, manage the energy sector for us to come into this debt. As a matter of fact, if you are going to describe what has brought the energy debt as criminal, then you are the criminals. Because you and I know that 3 things make up our energy sector debt. The excess capacity, which is about $500 million thereabout every year, which you signed, and you heard him say that the NDPP, you signed 32 of it, 32. Something you signed 32 of it. That is fact. Now the fact is that you go and sign contracts with people and tell them to generate power. The country is going to be able to afford to, maybe it's going to be able to use 4,000 megawatts. You go and sign contract of 5,000. I'm making a point. So there's an excess of 1,000. That excess of 1,000, your agreement with them is that whether you use it or you don't use it, you will pay. Now, Council, Bentel, and myself, we only pay for power that we have used. That's 1,000 excess capacity that you took from them. It didn't come to us, so we don't pay for it. What it means is that every day, that excess capacity bill is on government.
We voted for you. You said you were going to change.
I agree.
For 8 years.
Hold on. No, I'm not. I haven't complained.
Okay.
I am only making a point that you have no business. It is a complete insult of the Ghanaian people for you to come and sit on TV and call the energy sector debt criminally managed when you signed the baby.
He gave over a dozen reasons.
Hold on, I'm coming to all of them. Number 2, the second reason for our debt, and there is none more than these 3. The second reason is the point that Council Bentel made, and he himself made it. When ECG itself goes to lift the, let's say the 4,000, before the 4,000 gets to our homes, 500 is lost through technical losses because the cables are weak, this is not there, you understand. 500, the technical aspect, 500. So we don't even receive the entire 4,000 for us to use and even pay. Now, after we have also used the 3,500, ECG should come and collect the money from us. They are collecting 3,000. So that one to 500 is lost. These are the reasons why we have these challenges in the energy sector. Correct. That is fact.
Correct.
Nothing else. There is no other thing. Now look at each of these three things. Which of them makes MPP criminal and doesn't make you worse of a criminal?
When we had a handle or an avenue by which we were seeking to make up for this, you came in, you took it off. You said you don't pay anymore. Meanwhile, you are not paying.
Let me also deal with this matter. So you see, between 2013 and 2016, when the energy crisis peaked, the NDC decided to increase the generation capacity, which is one of the best things we've seen in recent years. But in doing that, they overdid it. And that brought us the first handle of the debt burden, the excess capacity. Then they introduced ESLA, which was going to be revenue source to deal with some of this debt. Now, some say, listen to this and listen to this carefully. ESLA is online. There is ESLA PLC with all the reports there. There is ESLA report on Ministry of Finance website. In fact, as recent as April 2025, the Finance Minister, Ato Forsen, Honorable, presented a report on ESLA. The MPP never did what it is that you are trying to impugn on us. When we took office, the energy crisis was so dire that in 2019, if you recall, the World Bank came to do an assessment and said that if we don't deal with the energy sector debt in a certain way, by 2025, our debt was going to grow to $12.5 billion. World Bank report is there. As part of that, the government had to put in place mechanisms to arrest some of the legacy debt. In fact, at that time, if we had not intervened, ESLA had just been introduced. It had not accumulated yet. And the IPPs were crying for their money. You are expecting ESLA to accumulate and you pay them. They cannot wait. So all government did was to float this ESLA, generate the money now, and pay the IPPs so we can have our power on. There is this thing that the BDOCs actually released along the line, and I'll read it to you. It's on your website. Government settles 1 billion legacy debt. The Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors says it has received from government 1 billion being full and final payment of legacy debt owed the bulk oil distributing companies from 2012 to 2020. This is ESLA money.
This was when?
This is ESLA money. This was ESLA money.
This was when?
Somewhere 2020 thereabout. Okay. This is ESLA money that was going into it. Now the ESLA report between 2017 and 2023 is online. This is what the ESLA report says. 70% of ESLA money was used to settle energy sector debt. 20% went into infrastructure, which includes transmission upgrades, distribution improvement and maintenance, and other infrastructure. So you see, let nobody, and these reports are public, we cannot read. Okay. Let nobody ever make that point that, the government misused ESLA and all of that. In any case, the total amount of ESLA revenue raised between that period up to 2023 is about 35 billion cedis. How much is our debt? 35 billion cedis. How much is our debt? Now the point I'm making is that we are complaining about the 4 cedi 50 pesos on a gallon because this government comes on air to create an impression as if they are introducing a levy to come and deal with the energy sector debt. But guess what? This is the point. And this is the point they make, but they make it quietly and subtly. This levy is not going to pay any of the energy sector debt. All it's going to do is to buy fuel now to power our generators.
That's what Jinapo says, but the president...
That's what the president also said.
President Mahama appears to correct that and says it will do both.
No, he didn't. He said that it will be buying fuel until a period where they are expecting a certain gas inflow. And that when that gas inflow comes in, then it will shift.
All right.
What if, hold on, that's conditional. What if it doesn't come in? Okay. But as I conclude something, my point here is that you are government. You have been voted into office. You promised to reduce our burden. You said that you don't need to introduce excessive taxes to be able to do anything. You knew this issue. Your finance minister was ranking member on finance. He understands the issues. You introduced all this energy sector debt. You know the structure and everything. Deal with it. Your energy minister sat on TV and told the whole country that we should vote for the NDC and that in 100 days, in 100 days, he is going to plug and cut the losses of the ECG.
Thank you, Dennis.
And make sure that they become profitable.
Thank you.
Then you turn around and come and tell us that we should pay you 50% for every gallon before you give us power.
Thank you.
That is why we
Thank
are
you, Dennis. In some 20 seconds, tell me why you endorse the demonstration announced by the NPP or the strike by the Ghana Private Road Transport Union group. Why do you endorse it when you know that this problem exists and this is a part of the solution to it?
I'm endorsing because I know this is not part of the solution. The levy is simply going to buy fuel to power generators.
What's your alternative?
The alternative is that they said they had a magic wand to deal with ECG. We want to see them implement that. We are not asking them to do any other thing.
Okay,
that's what they said. We just want to see them implement that.
Apia Kusi Adumako is with the CATS International. You know that consumer protection group. They say that in this country, whenever consumers are about to enjoy lower fuel prices, our leaders often respond by introducing new taxes. Back in 2014, when global fuel prices dropped, then Finance Minister swiftly went to Parliament and imposed a 17.5% special petroleum tax. Now in 2025, we are being asked to pay an additional 1 Ghana cedi to support the purchase of liquid fuel. In my view, the real issue lies in the poor management of our energy sector. The sector is riddled with technical and commercial losses, corrupt practices, and which are not prosecuted. As the distinguished Professor Bokping aptly put it, quote, a spoiled child doesn't need more money, but discipline, end quote. The ECG remains inefficient, and the government itself is not paying its fair share for the electricity it consumes. If we do not solve the management of our energy sector, well, we will be invited again in the future to pay additional levies. Mm-hmm. And that should remind all of us that this is an amendment to an existing levy. Yeah. It's not that it is new. Yeah. It existed in which situation you were paying 0.95 for petrol, you were paying 0.93 for diesel, you were paying 0.97 for LPG, but has now been increased by 1 cedis. Just one or two more of messages from, let's say, some significant members of the society. But also, Dr. Kojo Pumpunia Asante says that as for the lack of consultation, it is a no-no, and we register our strong protest. It should go back for a sunset clause. So, at least you have finished with it. It says, let it go back for a sunset clause. Number 2, we want the money to be used to pay only the things we say we want to use it to pay. We want the cash waterfall mechanism payment also put on a dashboard so we can all see. We cannot watch all the mismanagement and corruption at ECG continue to impose high tariffs on citizens. We want publicly available information on ESLA receipts and total transparency on all receipts. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for these messages.
Samson, if I may.
So quickly,
yes.
In 2 minutes, I'll do my best.
I'll do my best.
I'll get 2 minutes.
I'll do my best. You see, Samson, it is fact.
Yeah, I'll get 2 minutes.
That under the MPP, fuel sold at 17 cedis and 23 cedis.
In 2022.
Oh, please. Yes, but why? Was that not under the MPP?
Yeah, communication minister.
Please. Oh, was that under the CPP?
In 2022.
Yes, but was that under the CPP?
Did you inherit
was it under the CPP?
Did you inherit 17 cedis?
You see, the problem with you, you set your own questions and answer them. Something I never said that when we came to power, we came to inherit fuel price at this stage. Indeed, I refer specifically to between July and November 2022, didn't I? So in your haste to do propaganda, you say things I have not said and purport to answer them. It is a fact that Ghanaians paid far more for fuel under you than they are doing under us. Even the price that you say we met in, say, January 2025, the price now is lower. It is a fact.
We have opened the
absolutely on Tuesday, 1st November 2022.
Yeah.
Goil sold Super XP1 at 17.9 cedis. They sold diesel XP at 23.49 cedis. It is a fact. It was under the MPP.
And they were the cheapest.
They were the cheapest. It was under the MPP, not under the CPP. So what I said is fact. Number two, even what we
it
met.
is fact that if you want to say that you have done something,
yes,
you talk about it from where you took
yeah,
off.
But something I said that
dishonest government.
Please,
it's the dishonesty.
Please.
If you are not dishonest government, how would you do this?
You are shouting won't change anything. When we came to power, the same well we're selling super at almost 15. It was 14.99. Today it is not the same. In fact, Star Oil sells it at 11 cedis. So it is cheaper now than we met under you. Even with this levy, it is still cheaper than we met under you. Something again. What will be the basis for drivers to say that they will not reduce fuel prices when fuel prices have dropped for 8 consecutive times since we came into power? Even with this increase, it is cheaper than when we came to meet them. So there is no basis for it. Number 3. 2 minutes each. Oh, I beg you. You see, the issues he has raised are extremely important. I need to answer them. Number 3, that excess capacity argument is shallow propaganda. You see, that excess capacity argument they make is shallow propaganda. Sometimes I'm telling you that there is nobody in this world who would agree to set up a power plant in your country when he does not have a guarantee that you will offtake or that he will make money from that arrangement. Again, excess capacity is necessary if you are going to keep the system running. And I told you that the excess capacity that we left have been exhausted as we speak. So imagine what would have happened, given that they themselves didn't add much, if we didn't have that excess capacity. So that argument is shallow populism. It is propaganda that they throw in. The problem we have does not arise out of that. It is because they criminally mismanage the economy. Look, this November price that I'm quoting, it went there because the city tanked. The city collapsed. Finally, Samson, again, he speaks about cost of living, claiming that items have gone up. Samson, what have we done in the last 5 months as a government that would have contributed to this? The factors that account for price on the market, which of them has worsened since we came to power? Okay. So it does not make sense to attribute anything to this government. And then finally, when I speak about criminal mismanagement, you see, ECG, it is true that they make historical losses. But under them, the things that happened in ECG were criminal, and I will explain. ECG is an entirely 100% owned state utility. It is their government that appoints the MD and the board. Indeed, until we came to power, the board was chaired by a prominent MPP politician, Afenyo. Not so. Check the operations of ECGs. Something. In 2023, ECG itself said they would do procurement to the level of 935 million. Planned. Despite this plan, they did procurement of up to 8.3 billion Ghana cedis.
Yeah, we have raised this year before.
Which essentially means that they incurred debt. In 2024, they budgeted 1.4 billion. They did 8.2 billion, which means that they had incurred debt. Something. Right. You know that ECG has a shipping department, which is responsible for clearing containers or goods that they bring in. Despite the existence of this shipping department, they bypassed them, went to sign a contract with a private entity, and paid them 159 million Ghana cedis to do the same work that a shipping department can do. Okay. Again, ECG needs staff annually to do its work. We agree. Under them, they imported cables that they don't need for the next 15 years. This is criminal. And there's nothing that anybody can say
the ritual where in ECG, even meters.
They buy far more than they need.
Change of government means we must get new procurement for meters. Yeah. And the meters are installed, they are being removed and changed. Meanwhile, they are not actually problematic. Yeah. But just to make or create business for somebody. I'm coming to you, Kofi. Kweku Nchibwe says that the politics of e-levy versus e-levy. It is not about how much per litre one has to pay for the new energy sector levy. It is about principled politics and honesty in governance. When you prepare an annual budget and claim you will not introduce a new tax, when you remove e-levy and some
we have also not said anywhere that we never introduce
because you claim the people to believe you are going to ease their burden, and yet all the while you were actually planning to introduce another tax. That does not sound to me like principled politics and honesty in government. That sounds like politics as usual. Right. At this point, JoyNews' research desk has checked the budget and other statements and has confirmed that it is not accurate to say that
we said
it was said that there will not be
a
tax.
Good. And something I beg you before I beg you.
Felix.
It's an important point. Something is an important point. It's an important point. It's an important something. Again. When you say that we say we will leave the burden of the people by having put additional burden, something. Since we have been in power, is it not the fact that the cost of living has come down?
Which fact? Your fact.
Make my point.
It is your fact.
The value of your fact.
No, it is your fact.
Has one over down.
It is your fact.
Has one over down.
Potatoes is that's what it is.
Can I make my point? They say facts are sacred.
That is your fact.
You can't lie about this.
Yes, quickly.
Yes, we are all almost agreeing that a central problem with our energy sector is incompetence, corruption, and in all of that, ECG is somewhere in the center. This government is about 5 months in power. You've managed to increase taxes, fix ECG.
We will.
Fix the problem you say is sitting there.
We will.
Now,
they managed to increase a tax.
A tax, not...
Yeah, I mean, in the speaking... So now, listen. You do the politics, let me do the facts. Fuel prices rise and fall. It is a fact that under MPP's 8 years, fuel prices went to 17. By the time MPP was leaving, it was under 15. That's a fact. Today, because of some other interplays, the fuel price is low. I have no doubt that it will rise and fall, go and come. That is not the issue. The issue is the central problems we need to fill. Now, I agree with Kojo. You need to put a sunset on this law. So, as part of what we are talking about, we are saying, one, it was wrong for you to slip this in the way you did. That was not right. Number two, it should not be a never-ending situation that you politicians make a mess and then we have to fix it. So please go back and put a sunset on this. It is true that this is a betrayal.
Okay.
Okay? And please, still, there are too many taxes on our fuel. Why do we have to pay tax to support BOST, which is a government entity that must be trading on its own balance sheet? And it sits there, it's almost like a slush fund. So too many taxes, go and take some off and let deregulation work. If we do proper deregulation, we will start fixing this problem.
Thank you. Dennis, after you, Prof, get ready for a quick 2 minute conclusion.
The fact is that Felix, Honorable Member of Parliament and Minister, should quickly transit from opposition to government. He is in government. He has the responsibility to fix the issues. He cannot come on air and gaslight us all. That you are burdening us with money we have to pay to you for your incompetence, and you want to make us feel as if...
It doesn't make sense.
Can you stop this? 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 I beg you.
What have we done?
And then you make us... And then you make us...
So you see, when he was intervening, I almost told him not to. Stop. It's okay. It's okay. Hold on.
Because do you know what the government communication minister is doing to us, the populace? He's making us feel like we are either sleeping or we are delusional.
The delusion is coming from
Can you stop this?
The delusion is coming from you. You are not saying anything. You're just getting around
Felix.
Making accusations that you can't justify.
Felix.
And when I complain,
it's okay. Stop there.
I'm restarting my stopwatch.
Don't restart.
No, but that's the fact.
I'll stop you when I have to.
So something. The fact is that they cannot continue to gaslight us like this forever. You see, it's only a dishonest government that will be having a conversation around fuel pricing and go and pick a 2022 figure to make a case. Only dishonesty. You know that you took over government when fuel was 14 cedis, and you brought it to 12 cedis. Nobody is taking that credit away from you. And then when you are making the point, you go to a 22. Let me tell you something. He makes a point and pretends to make everybody believe that the fuel price we are seeing now is because of only the cedi appreciation. In January, the time they took office, when fuel was 14 cedis, international crude was $80. $80. Today, international crude is $64. What it means is that it is not only the dollar to cedi. Can you stop there? How long are you going to do this? What it means is that it is not only the dollar to cedi that has brought fuel prices to the rate it is now. Now, there is one fact about the global economy. International crude will not remain 64 forever. Yeah. It is going to go up. So don't come and tell us that, you know what, I have brought cedi up and dollar is down. and now fuel has come down, so I beg you, let me give you 4 cedis, don't complain. Knowing very well that in about a week or two, or even a month or 2 months, you are going to have international crude move from 64 and it could go all the way to 120.
Or it could go downwards.
Or it could go to 40. And if it goes to 120 tomorrow, what are we supposed to do? When you haven't given us any comfort in your bill, that, okay, anytime it goes above this 64, we'll remove this one.
That's why we have to go for the sunset.
And you are telling us not to speak.
Yeah. Okay.
And you are giving us all manner of gimmicks, theories, and telling us that some people are criminals. When the things you are impugning criminality on them, you introduced it.
How?
It is your baby.
How?
When the MPP came to office, something, and that is something that we cannot run away from. You left a debt of $2.5 billion for the MPP and gave them a revenue source, which you keep referring to, that gave them 35 billion as a cedis, as a 2023. And at the same time, left them a daily debt accumulation, which moves to $500 million every month. You left it. So when somebody takes over $2.5 billion from you and manages the energy sector, keeps power stable for 8 years, and then you come to office, and then 4 months out of the 4 months, there is crisis in the sector. Then you come and tell us that we should pay you 4 cedis 50 pesos, only to go and buy fuel. So whilst you are buying the fuel every day today to give us power, you are still accumulating the debt. Yeah. And only God knows what will happen to that debt in the future. The energy sector debt.
Thank you.
The excess capacity.
Hello,
Prof. The ECG losses.
I have told you that
Prof.
23 billion.
Hello, Prof.
Is being paid to offset that
Okay.
debt.
And then you want us to know
how much money did you pay last year?
Hello, Prof.
To government. You are no longer in opposition.
You are saying things like
Move to government. You are no longer in opposition.
concluding.
We are going to hold you. You are going to fix the situation for us.
Please, gentlemen, let's listen to Prof. Bokwe. Hello, Prof. Yes, let's hear you.
Yeah, something. The more I listen to the two politicians on your show, the more I get concerned because I'm just looking at the MPP. The agency with which they wanted to introduce VAT on electricity consumption last year. I'm looking at reforms that we have agreed under the IMF-supported program, especially in the energy sector. And I'm also listening to the position of the NDC right now vis-a-vis when they were in opposition and all of that. I think there's one thing that is clear, and we have to come in here. What is it? There are issues that I think politics will not fix. There are issues that we have to look at it realistically. I agree with my senior colleague, Kofi Bento, about the structural issues, technical losses, commercial losses, procurement economy, in the energy sector and all of that. From where I sit, my considered view is that without some level of fiscal resources in the immediate, even the good leadership government is showing in resolving the energy sector and the many other areas will not yield the immediate results that we need to move our economy forward. My position is that this levy should be viewed as a temporary tax levy, or handle. The sunset clause should be around the key variables that inform the export price, world oil price, the CD strength, and then the other significant variable. That way we'll be making progress. And then there should be transparency in how these resources will be utilized. And this should be linked to reforms in the entire energy value chain, and quarterly government should be giving us updates on how their reforms are yielding results and how that is bringing relief to Ghanaians and the sustainability of the energy sector.
Okay.
That is how I see it.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Bokwing. And Professor Bokwing is a professor of finance and economics at the University of Ghana. He joined us. He, like the OMCs, are sympathetic and supportive of the 1 cedi levy on increase on fuel, but are looking for sunset clauses, are looking for efficient management of the tax. Also, Felix Kwachiofosu, Minister of State, Government Communications. Dennis Miracle Sabuaje is aide to Dr. Baumia, the 2024 flag bearer of the NPP, former Vice President. Kofi Bento is lawyer and senior Vice President of Imani Africa. And in our next segment, we'll be joined by Samuel Apiadako, Director, Strategy, Research and Communication, Office of the Special Prosecutor, Nanai J. Bafwewa, MP, Menchia South, and Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. We will also check a few things with a very renowned surgeon, Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdullah, a neurosurgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Ken Ofori-Atta on Interpol red notice. That's how bad it gets. But has he brought this upon himself? Or the special prosecutor is simply being a bit too harsh by not paying attention to the fact that he is unwell? We'll be right back.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain. Yeah, yes, in test tank, I'm on a wired day. And see about this here, Chao, and so still, a Juma, oh, weather. Who bet me a check, hello, pay. Yeah, Bayamo, I won't shit. Ghana ha, if you be a year water tank and one day, auto synthesis tanker. You have 7 years warranty. Synthesis tank. You will lay a fitabi room. A bonus young by me with the hokwaji. And your papa change your canina. Say, dear, what's the diet to my hobby? And one is synthesis septic tank. Septic tanky, your size the BRB. Synthesis, innovative, reliable, durable. Synthesis tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's in text tank.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Let's talk hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are normal structures located in the anus of all mammals.
But it is only man who suffers hemorrhoidal disease because of the erectocele we have assumed and the squatting that we do to empty our bowel. Hemorrhoids consist of a special type of blood vessels which fill with blood when we are moving our bowel and help to cushion the anus against the force of transmitting the stool. Afterwards, they empty their blood, collapse, help seal the anus to maintain continence. Over time, these vessels lose the elasticity of their walls, become dilated, permanently filled with blood, leading to congestion of the hemorrhoids. The symptoms of hemorrhoids are bleeding and prolapse of the hemorrhoids when passing stool, itching and feeling of warmth in the anus and anal discharge. Laser, ligature, and longo are the modern, minimally invasive, most effective and painless methods of treating hemorrhoids today.
Muntaba Hospital, first Ghana Colorectal Center, in to serve a peculiar health need.
Malaria's remedy is Lonat. Therefore, we're gonna use Lonat to recover. You have malaria? Yes, please. Are you shivering?
Yes, yes.
You got chills?
Yes,
Take
yes.
Lonat.
Lonat.
First day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat. Second day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat.
Lonat.
Third day.
Lonat.
Take Lonat.
Lonat.
That's all. Lonat scatter malaria. Lonat scatter malaria.
This advert is FDA approved.
Now on Interpol's global radar, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is officially listed as a 65-year-old Ghanaian born in Accra, 1.7 meters tall, with black eyes and hair, and speaks English and Twi. He served as Finance Minister from 2017 to early 2024, but is now facing criminal investigations linked to the controversial National Cathedral project, revenue deal with Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, the Ministry of Health contract for 307 ambulances, handling and disbursement of tax funds accounts, as well as the cancellation of ECG's agreement with Beijing PXC. He was first summoned by the special prosecutor in January, but after multiple no-shows and citing medical excuses, the OSP declared him a fugitive from justice in February. He later promised to return in May, but never did.
I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol Red Notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender. Around the same time, I dispatched a request for extradition processes to be instituted for the provisional apprehension in any jurisdiction in which Mr. Ofori-Atta may be located or found, and his extradition to the Republic of Ghana.
The Interpol notice, though not a direct arrest warrant, alerts 196 countries, including the United States, where he is believed to be. It paved the way for coordinated tracking and extradition efforts. For now, Ken Ofori-Atta remains on the run, but the special prosecutor says this pursuit will not stop until he is brought back to face justice.
Right. So we all saw the OSP on the day that Mr. Ofori-Atta's promise through his lawyers to return to the jurisdiction and to make himself available for the criminal investigations about the corruption matters that the OSP has flagged. On that day, the evening of that day, once the OSP made the determination that Ken Ofori-Atta had no intentions of honoring his word, he held a press conference and renewed his determination to have him arrested and brought to face justice. So he redeclared him as a wanted man, a fugitive from justice. How harsh for a man who has so accomplished over many years and run the economy of this country. And just 2 days ago, we got the notice on the Interpol system that Ken Ofori-Atta has been put on the red notice. As the report was going on, you would see Ken Ofori-Atta side by side with, people with disturbing backgrounds. So that's where we are. Let's try to understand what is going on. Nana Jeba for a while was supposed to join us, but we understand that he's unable to join us now. So we will have Dennis stay back and help us with the discussions. Let me begin with you, Kofi. You've been following this. It must be a difficult place for you. I know why I'm saying so. Yes. So how do you appreciate everything?
Samson says it's difficult, and I need to say this, is that it concerns the person of Ken Ofori-Atta, who I have known for more than 30 years closely. I consider him a friend and a mentor. He gave me a job at Enterprise where I was able to excel and make my name in the corporate world. He remained a friend. He's a fellow, a colleague fellow at the Aspen Institute, where he introduced me. I respect Ken. I think history will be kind to him, especially in his work in the private sector, building data bank, helping to build our stock exchange. It will be kind to him. But I cannot defend everything Ken has done in government. And I'm also not one of the people who abandons his friends because they make one mistake. So I speak on principle. I would say what I disagree on, but I want this to be clear, that I do not abandon Ken. I still respect him, and I'll still defend him personally. With that said, here's the point. The special prosecutor who we all worked to establish, something you remember, is doing what I think is fair work. Somebody may say, well, maybe he's been too aggressive. He necessarily must be aggressive. We asked for that. I remember when Occupy Ghana, all of us were part of that, when it went to court, the Supreme Court said, under the circumstance this country finds itself in, people who are given power, government power, to do things like surcharges, allowance, and fight corruption, must even consider discretion as a duty. In other words, given the situation we are in, it's good to have an aggressive special prosecutor, OSP. So in that sense, we support him. And let me also make the point, because of a subsequent point I'm going to make, that the law as it is today backs the actions of the OSP, the kind of aggressiveness with which they are trying to do their work. But let me quickly add that I disagree with the law. And to the extent that I disagree with the law, I think it will not be out of place for the OSP to chart a slightly different course, because the law says so. We don't have the time, so I can't go into it, but if I have the time, I'll go into it. If you read Article 14 and Article 19, you will see that the presumption of innocence is fundamental.
Correct.
And the Constitution is very careful. You shall not arrest the person. Shall not. Except under A, B, C, D, E. Okay? If you go to other portions, it says the person has no responsibility to participate in their own prosecution. I am of the view, in fact, the last time I was speaking about some things that I intend to take to the Supreme Court. I am stopped from doing so now because it will look like I'm backing somebody. One is what happened to Wontumi. The fact that when you arrest a person, you shouldn't be the one to give bail. If you read Article 14 to 19, you take the person before a judge. That's another matter. One of the things that I also believe
you can give bail. Police inquiry bail is lawful.
If you again, I wish I could do the law of it. If you, it's reasonable, it is lawful, but you don't keep the person 48 hours, then you slap a bill which is unreasonable. Those things. And I think
as for that,
good.
As for that, it's correct that they are misinterpreting the law. That once within 48 hours you have not released the person on bail,
yes,
you must take them to court.
Yes,
right.
Somebody is arguing about so those things. Now, one other thing that I sincerely believe, and I've even discussed with Martin because sometimes we don't have time. I feel somebody else should take it. It is not constitutional for any institution to declare a person wanted because they did not submit themselves to investigation. Why I say so is, again, if you read 14, the presumption of innocence is so fundamental. And it says you should not treat the person as if he's convicted. Now, we've done it over the years, but I always tell people that that's why Martin Kpebu went to court. And if you see all the things that he got, which had been done over the years, upon close scrutiny, we realize we're being wrong. Now, if you say, or if the Constitution says the person can be arrested, brought there for 48 hours, he doesn't even have to speak, then upon what do you say that because you are not coming, I am declaring you wanted, which is treating him like a criminal? And why can the OSP simply go and try the man in absentia?
Really?
Absolutely.
And they should be prosecuting all of us in absentia.
Well, I'm making the point. You see, again, before Martin went and said, even Medra should be left on bail until you can make a case against them. People are like, hey, Medra, if you leave him, he's going to kill somebody. If you read the Constitution, it says that the purpose of bail is to confirm, to make sure that the person will submit themselves to, court. My point remains, and again, we don't have the time for me to go through it, but here's the thing. If you are OSP, you are aggressive, whatever, you invite somebody and the person says, I won't come, arrest him. If you cannot arrest him or for some circumstances, he's refusing or whatever it is, proceed to court and try him in absentia. Or, as we do with bench warrants, go before a court and explain exactly why. It should only be a court that declares a person wanted, the way they are declaring Ken wanted.
You see the Interpol red notice list? Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Have you gone on it?
I've gone on
there
it, yes.
There are hundreds of people there who have been declared wanted by their countries.
Yes.
Those countries are not banana republics. It didn't take a court to ask them to be declared wanted.
It is not every country that gives bail to Medras. Our constitution, if you read it
suspected.
Carefully, yes.
Suspected Medras, not Medras.
Well, has Ken been proven guilty of anything? I am one of the people who was most critical of Ken in office from when he capped statutory funds, ESLA, EJAPA, Levy. People forget, because of some of the things we've said in the recent past, that myself and my Imani brothers were amongst the most critical. So I'm not saying anything, but has he been proven guilty of anything? And I'm saying, why does it look like a man who is sick? All of us knew, okay? Why does it look like there is a certain pressure on him to pay his own way, to participate in his own prosecution?
At the bottom of the notice of declaration, you find that he is presumed innocent.
Well,
that doesn't matter?
It does matter, but if you, that's lip service. If you claim the person is presumed innocent.
Let's not take some, let's take all of it.
Yes, I'm taking all of it.
The declaration contains a caveat that the person is not guilty until proving so.
But wherever he goes under Interpol, he can be arrested and detained and sent into Ghana.
And
like
that's
a criminal.
a global, lawful
Does it make
process.
it right? There was a time.
People
there was a time when human sacrifice was allowed. The law is not always coterminous with justice, which is why I'm making the point that the OSP is backed by law in what it is doing. But I do believe, just like Martin did, that if people go and look carefully at the law as it is, what the OSP must do with all the law at its disposal. In fact, it's easier for you to try somebody in absentia. Indeed, if you read the Constitution, it says that you can try the person either with his presence or with his lawyers.
Yeah, so the question I'm asking,
my point is,
the question that is being asked is, generally, you have heard that question. So you want us to create a precedent where I can decide to steal as much as I can steal from Ghana. All I need to do is to just escape from this country.
No.
And not make myself available. You say the OSP must arrest the person, or law enforcement must arrest whoever they suspect, if they must arrest them. They have gone to court. They got a warrant to arrest. The warrant to arrest may have a limitation to this jurisdiction, but they are able to trigger it beyond the jurisdiction because of Interpol, to say, we are looking for Samson Ladi. He may be in your country. It's the reason we have signed the mutual legal assistance law. So if you find him, bring him to us. The same way if somebody leaves your country, like they go to Canada and steal cars and bring to Ghana, and they are running away, arrest them for me and bring them. What's wrong with that system?
This is the problem. The person is sick or claims to be. He is in a situation where he says, I cannot come down. That's one. The law allows you to proceed against him in absentia. So if you want to arrest the person, you haven't gone before a judge or anything, and by yourself, you have triggered the Interpol, whatever. I said the law backs what you are doing now.
There's a warrant, meaning you have gone before a judge.
There's a warrant for
arrest.
My point is this. There is a law that allows the OSP to proceed in absentia against this gentleman. Why have they not proceeded to try him in absentia? Because look, you know, Sedina Tamaklo also tried, convicted, sentenced, and then she absconds. If you put
Sedina was arrested. Sedina appeared before the court. Her plea was taken.
I make a different point.
In the course of the trial, she runs out of the country.
My point is,
and as we speak, there are processes to arrest her. She ran. Felix is saying she didn't run.
Look,
she ran because
Samson, I haven't made
she asked for permission to go for treatment.
I haven't made the point.
And never returned.
That one must be clarified. Okay. I haven't made the point. I haven't made the point. The point I'm making is, Sedina essentially, who was tried and convicted, who is now a convict, is treated more or less essentially the same as somebody who has not been tried, not been convicted, who might well not be convicted. There is a problem there. So I'm saying, please, OSP, look, if I had to advise Ken as a brother, I would say, don't come to Ghana. I disagree with all the things that have happened and I've criticized them. But for your person and for the kind of vitriol that has been visited against you, don't come to Ghana. Wait and let them try you, let them convict you, and if they convict you, we'll take it from there. Sedina was convicted. It's a different thing from a person who has not been tried. And the law allows them to proceed against him in absentia. Do that.
Okay. The OSP is here. They will be explaining all of this, but for good reason and strategic reason, I want them to hold their breath. We'll hear you guys briefly before we go to the OSP's representation here right now. Dennis, do you agree or you don't that the posture of the MPP about the arrest of the pursuit of Ken Ofori-Atta, not only the MPP and some other members of the public who say, well, we hear he's not well, so if you want, like Kofi just said, try him in absentia and so on. They say you are seeking preferential treatment in criminal prosecutions. You don't agree?
I don't. I mean, for me, what I want us to do is for all of us to be very, very careful with the kind of precedents we set for our country. I've always made these points in several other instances. I have seen chief directors in public institutions. I've seen public servants who had room to implement certain reforms or take certain actions, but they took decisions that they felt benefited them in that moment, retired eventually, and later they had to face the brunt of the same things they put in place. And that, for me, is the reason why I want all of us to be careful. The day or the moment I saw Ken's image on the Interpol Red Notice, I was very sad, extremely sad. To date, we are yet to properly understand what crime Ken would have committed. All we know is that the OSP says, I'm looking for the former finance minister to ask him questions related to certain issues, SML, and other things, including National Cathedral and so many other things. So Ken may just well show up, you ask him questions, he answers, and you may not even have anything to prefer against him as charges. So I listen to the OSP and it's as if there's an ego bruise somewhere, to be very honest. All I see is that aspect of the point you made where you feel like, why are you trying to get a preferential treatment? Why do you think it should be special? For me, that is what I see the OSP attempting to do, to simply prove that you're no special. You are no different human being than all the others. That's why
on Newsfile, SP Kisejabin told me that they don't consecrate saints. Is that not the kind of independent prosecutor you want for yourself?
We wish him well. I am only saying that what I see, my observation, even when he's speaking about the matter, you know, when people are talking, you look at them, the emotions they bring out, the body language, the posture. My view is that he's showing somebody who feels that my ego is bruised. I need to show you where power lies.
Ego is bruised by
Ken.
How?
Maybe he feels that I have requested for you, you are not showing up, you are not coming, and all of that. But some say, let's come to the fact, as I have seen Ken's lawyers. So you are looking for him. He communicated to you that he was a what? In fact, after the time you were looking for him, he wasn't in the country. It is not as if he was in the country and you were looking for him before he went. No, he had written to the chief of staff long before. There was even change of government. And before you even started looking for him. Then he communicated to you that he wasn't well. Then he requested for a period, which you were even magnanimous to even add, I think, a month. Now his lawyers have circulated, which they didn't have to do, have circulated letters from his hospital indicating clearly that his doctors are advising him against traveling until a certain surgery has been performed. We have seen that letter. OSP, as I have seen in their release, says that they haven't seen the letter. Fair point. The lawyers indicate that they have communicated a letter to the OSP. It's their words against each other, but that's not relevant. The key point here is that the man isn't well. Long before now, since 2020, it's been public knowledge. Why do you think a special prosecutor, with all the experience he has, would stand on national TV and indicate that somebody has cancer? When this person claimed that he hasn't even seen the letter, but he said it on TV, at least I saw it and heard him, that he said he has cancer and going to perform surgery, so you have this information. In the first place, putting out that information by you and not by the person himself is a challenge, it's a problem. But he did it. And that is one of my evidence to make me believe that there's a certain ego breeze in there. Then beyond that, the person comes back through his lawyers and say, why are you doing this? Why are you putting out our personal records and all of that out there? Indeed, we have communicated to you that the person isn't well. His lawyers are advising against him traveling. He has a scheduled surgery date. Is it on June 13th? At least we have seen the letter, so we have every cause to believe the lawyers. And Mayo Clinic is a reputable health institution that, in the face of their credibility, Ken is not so much of a person that they will write such a letter to cover. Mayo Clinic will not do that. Anybody that knows Mayo Clinic would know that of all the patients they have, Ken is not one that they would cook up something to cover. But even if the person they are cooking something to cover, this is health matter. Now, like Council Kofi said, if I was Ken, seeing all that has been happening in the past 2-3 months, and indeed, I have such a medical condition, I would not show up. I would prefer to be alive than to come and be put through a certain treatment that right now I cannot guarantee, because right now in this country, you cannot even guarantee your treatment, and you cannot guarantee how you'll be handled by all these agencies when you are arrested. We've seen all that has happened in the past 3 months to people who have been picked up only on suspicion. Some, there were press conferences to date, even charges have not been preferred against them, and we are still going back and forth and all of that. So if I was Ken, and if the condition that they claim he has is what he has, Samson, I will not come. I wouldn't mind you putting me on Interpol Red Notice, so long as I'm alive.
Hey, Interpol Red Notice.
Because why? I would come and die.
Don't say that.
No. Hold on. But you've already put me. Is there anything I can do about it? You've already put me there. So why should I come and be put through a situation that could cost my life? Why? Why should I do that? With the treatment we've seen, we saw Wuntumi come out
what do you mean by a situation that would cost your life?
We saw Wuntumi come out of Yoko and his left legs were almost numb.
Oh, really?
Yes. But the videos are there.
His left legs were almost numb.
Yes, we saw it. We saw it with our eyes. So Samson, the fact is this. We were in this country when the OSP himself told us that he flew from this country to London to go and interrogate President Mohammed's brother in London. He said it on TV, that he went to London to go and interrogate President Mohammed's brother in London. So the OSP clearly...
Samuel Adams the Airbus scandal.
Yes. So the OSP clearly has the precedence of actually going out to the country to go and talk to supposed suspects. So if you have done that for Mr. Mahama, Samuel Mahama, and you have somebody on the basis of empathy, humanity, telling you that I'm not well, I have a scheduled surgery, I am even ready to have this conversation with you via electronic platforms, which is allowed by law. Doesn't the law allow that?
I don't know which law.
No, but doesn't the law allow that?
I don't know which law.
No, we have.
We take evidence by
We can do that. Yes.
Evidence.
Yes.
Yeah. Prosecution.
Yes.
We take evidence by video.
When you are investigating.
Yes.
We take evidence in court by video.
Hold on, just 1 second.
So
I've heard that claim in the public since you're a lawyer.
Yes.
You say we take evidence by video, right?
In court, we take evidence by video.
Thank you. What did you say?
In court.
In court.
Yes.
Okay.
And the suggestion is that if in court it can be done, then in an investigation it should be possible to do so.
By which law?
No. I said the suggestion is...
Those who are saying, he just said there is a law. Okay. Have you asked them to point you to the law?
So just for the sake of public, education.
Right.
I do not, it's not everything that is done simply because there's a law. I see no impediment to the OSP taking an interview by video.
To caution somebody?
Yes, I see no impediment.
But what is the caution process?
Wait.
Can you caution somebody on video?
You are going, hold on. When it comes to arrest, the law requires you to physically touch the person.
Correct.
And read the person's Miranda rights and whatever it is.
Correct.
At this point, the OSP is seeking an interview. You may want to arrest the person, okay? But at this point, my understanding, you are seeking an interview.
What is the context of the interview? Supposing that I were your client and the OSP invited me. If you are taking me to the OSP, what sort of interview do you think you are taking me to?
I don't know. It's they who invited me. And given the circumstance, I may not accept the invitation. So the OSP will have to come where I am.
But you will advise me that going there potentially means that I could be cautioned.
Yes.
So can you do that cautioning in law? Can you do that cautioning by video?
So see, you are playing both sides. Listen, you are invited not to be arrested. You are invited to be part of the investigation. They question you, etc. If you are told, come here and let us arrest you, I don't think anybody will go.
But they never say, come, let's arrest you.
You're not getting me. So if the...
Relax.
Relax. If as my client...
another time.
Relax.
Time is going.
It's okay, we'll come to you. Relax, please.
As my client, you are called by the police and they say, come and let us arrest you, 100% of the time, I will say, don't go. But if they invite you and say, come, we are looking to interview you, I will say, make yourself available. So I'm saying, to the extent that they have not told Ken, come and let us arrest you, but we want your presence as part of the investigation. The Constitution says in Article 19 that you don't have any responsibility to participate. But he says that if it is for an interview, I am prepared to give you an interview on video. I see no impediment for doing that. So if it is arrest they want, they should make it clear.
Okay. But you know in practice, as a lawyer, that when they extend an interview, an invitation to you, it's a courtesy. They really say, we don't want to come and, hassle you to the place. So when you are going there, you know that you'll be cautioned. And the caution process cannot be done by video, correct?
It's not always that I've taken many people to the police where they were not cautioned. They were interviewed and released. So the point I am making is, if you are going to arrest the person 100% by all means, don't give them a courtesy. Tell them, come and let me.
But even where they were interviewed and they didn't give a caution statement, they may have given an ordinary statement and asked to go.
I mean, just warned and, or in fact, there have been times where it was to seek information. And when they got the information, they let the person go.
All right, thank you. That's fine. Now, let's move on. Yes.
So the point...
You were talking about Adams,
yes,
Samuel Adams Mahama.
And I don't want to pick, and I'm not picking on Adams Mahama.
Now wait.
Because of his name.
Do you know, as a matter of fact, that he's a citizen of the country to which the OSP had to attend?
Okay. So, in precedence, the OSP wanting to speak to somebody, whether he's a Ghanaian, he's an American, he's a whatever, did not put the person on Interpol red notice. The OSP went to the person. And again, let me put it on record. It has nothing to do with his name or even the matter.
They are suspects and they are potential witnesses. They are treated differently.
I beg you. As far as we know, and that's why I'm saying that where we have gotten to is an ego bruised. Because as far as we know, this whole Ofori-Atta matter started from come and let's have a conversation. That is where it started. It has only escalated. But that is where it started.
Okay.
It didn't start from you are under arrest or we are coming to arrest you. It started from we need you to talk to you and ask you certain questions. It has only escalated. I am saying that if the OSP of the Republic of Ghana ever had a cause to travel out of the jurisdiction to go and speak to somebody on a subject matter, then the OSP, on the basis of humanity, could easily have traveled to wherever Ofori-Atta is, speak with him. If he doesn't want to do the video conversation, in fact, one of the things he could have done is that you could go to him, which he was going to grant you anyway, and then when you finish, you say you are under arrest. I'm taking you back to the country without all this drama and gimmicks. I am only saying this. When we are making commentary about these things, we need to be careful. You made a point about the Interpol red notice. The fact is that on the Interpol red notice, there is nowhere that indicates that he is not guilty or is innocent. No, there's nothing there. I'm looking at it. It is clear. It's as if he's a criminal. It's there.
I'm projecting the OSP wanted notice to you. He says,
I'm telling you, Interpol red notice.
He says no law enforcement agency must be able to declare somebody wanted without a court order. That's the point I'm coming to. And he says the OSP's declaration makes him like a convict being treated the same way like
but that is what the Interpol red notice is making any.
There was a specific purpose. That's what I did. So I'm going to project that to you.
So the Interpol,
I want for everybody to follow.
The Interpol red notice, honestly speaking, if this is what we have put the former finance minister in, no matter how much you dislike him, no matter how much he irks you, no matter how much he pisses you off, at this rate, at this point where nobody has confirmed that he has committed any crime. In fact, the operators of some of the things we hear you mentioned are still walking around this country. We haven't heard that they've been arrested. We haven't heard that they've been arraigned before court. The bottom line is, if you strongly felt that Ken Ofori-Atta has committed a crime, for which reason you could go as far as putting him on an Interpol red notice, which for me tells me clearly that you are clear in your mind he's committed a crime. Go to court.
Okay,
because today, even if Ken Ofori-Atta shows up in Ghana, he could come and sit with you for 3 hours and not say anything.
That's right.
And all you can do is simply take whatever evidence you have to go to court.
When he will sign a caution statement.
When he meets you there, then he can also defend himself.
Okay,
I think that apart from bruised ego and somebody just trying to show him where power lies, this is completely wrong.
So look at what you are seeing on the television. Wanted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The name is Kenneth Nana Ofori-Atta. Then it gives you his bio. And then they give you the reasons for which he is wanted. They list them that the suspect is wanted to answer charges in respect of several cases, including strategic mobilization, GRA contract, termination of ECG, BXC contract, National Cathedral payments, ambulance procurement contract, and tax refund account utilization. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of this individual should alert the office by calling or sending a WhatsApp message to, they provide the number, and they give you a serial number contact. If we move forward, let's go on. There is all right. So at the very bottom of it, and when you go to the OSP's website, at the very bottom of it, which I was asking my producers to do, I'm holding a copy here. It says legal disclaimer. Correct. That's what you have seen there. Legal disclaimer. All persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So this is what I'll do.
Interpol didn't capture this.
So Interpol puts people who are wanted. So the wanted gives a different classification.
But we are saying that Interpol didn't capture this.
Thank you very much.
That's what makes it unfair on him.
The wanted actually tells you that they are wanted. It doesn't say they are convicts.
But the wanted are convicts and suspects, in this case for Ken.
He's a suspect.
But there's no description as such.
Okay,
there's no description as such there. There's no description as such there on the Interpol website.
Okay, your concerns are noted. Briefly, yes. What do you say about the manner in which things have happened? No, I wanted to share this next slide with you before. There's this next slide about the history of what has gone on so far as Ken Ofori-Atta is concerned. I'm projecting that one too. Then I'll share with you what has gone on so far. Why Ken Ofori-Atta is back on the wanted list. And number one, he's under investigations by the OSP for 5 key issues. 1, petroleum and minerals revenue assurance contract between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and GRA. Electricity contract termination, cancellation of ECG's agreement with Beijing BXC, National Cathedral procurement and payment processes, ambulance deal, Ministry of Health contract for 207 ambulances, and finally GRA tax payment fund, handling and disbursement of tax. Then number 2 on that slide, what you see is that January 2025, OSP names him a suspect, summons him for February 10. Then 31st of January, lawyers claim he's abroad for medical reasons. Then 5th of February, the OSP demands his return date, warns of legal consequences. Then on the 10th of February, 5 days later, unaddressed doctor's notes cited March surgery, no confirmed return date. Then on the 12th of February, he's declared a fugitive from justice. Then on the 18th of February, appealed to OSP, firm may return date giving. name removed from wanted list with warning of reissuance of non-compliance. So the wanted status was taken away from him. Then March 2025, he sues OSP over the wanted status, demands removal of history of the publication on the social media. Then March 28, he goes to the Human Rights Court, hears Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's plea to block the OSP from future declarations and adjourns to 18th June to give a decision. Now, the latest developments have been that on the 28th of May, with less than a week to the deadline, lawyers notify that he cannot meet the deadline due to surgery scheduled for 13th June 2025. He offered to send a scan to confirm the illness, but no certified medical records or formal excuse was provided. No firm return dates and no confirmation of explanation regarding the March surgery. Offered video conferencing. OSP rejected it, that the matter requires physical presence, not delayed tactics, and now the OSP's actions. Arrest warrant was reissued. Then he was added onto the Interpol Red Notice for international cooperation, request to activate extradition with central authority, and illness is not a shield from accountability unless certified as incapacitating before they will listen. So that's where we are. I'll hear briefly from you, and then we'll hear from the OSP.
Samson, the principle, as I know, is that all are equal before the law. But before I delve into the substantive matter, I need to clarify a few points about Samuel Mahama. Because Dennis alluded to him and sought to create a certain parallel between the two situations. Samuel Mahama, as indicated, is a British citizen. So he's not a Ghanaian citizen. So at all material times, unless he has come into Ghana, if you are looking for him, it is his country that you will find him. The second point is that even then, he was put on the red notice, Interpol red notice list by the OSP for 5 years. So it was not as though, even though he was a British citizen.
That was Amidu's time.
Yes, that is Martin Amidu's time. So it is not as though he was given professional training. He was not. And the point was, he only got off the list after the OSP determined that there was no question to answer. So
that's why it was wrong to do it in the first place.
No, but I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the argument I'm making, but that's fine.
If he thought that there was a basis to do so, I think that it is allowed that he does.
So go on.
The second point too about Sedina, and it's important that I clarify. Sedina didn't run. Sedina actually left this country with full authority from the court in which she was standing trial. She said she needed to go and seek medical treatment. In fact, the court did not just grant it. The court sought two sureties, Mr. Alex Mould and another relative, to the tune of 5 million Ghana cedis. In fact, when Sedina didn't come back, the court actually held Mr. Mould. It was up until the point where Mr. Mould was able to show that he had absolutely no answer to give in that matter that the court set the surety aside. So that too must be clarified. And as Kofi indicated, there are processes to ensure that she is brought to the jurisdiction. But you see, something. Dennis laments Ken Ofori-Atta's situation and accuses the OSP of overzealousness, even though he didn't say that exactly. That essentially is what he was alluding to. But the principle of equality before the law must be upheld. How did the MPP itself, when they were in power, through the Attorney General, treat others who also could say they were unwell? And in the last week or so, I've had cause to recount the case of Dr. Sylvester Nimana, who was the chief director of the health ministry at the time that the Atofosi ambulance case occurred. Samson, in solidarity with my friend, Dr. Atofosi, I used to go to court every time the case was called. And I used to sit behind Dr. Nimana, Samson. And I can disclose it because these are matters of public knowledge. It's actually documented in court. Dr. Nimana was suffering at the time from severe kidney failure. He had visual impairments. He could not see properly if you give him a document. He had hearing impairment. He could not hear when you asked him a question. And then he was consigned to a wheelchair. He could not move. He had mobility problems. Yet, the Attorney General dragged him to court every single time. He lived around Kwabenya. Every time the case was called, he had to transport himself to court. Sit there for hours.
He didn't have to.
Sit there for hours. Something. The day that he was put in the dock to be questioned and cross-examined. He had difficulty hearing. He could not utter one coherent sentence because of the ailment he was undergoing. He had hiccups the whole time, and yet he was put in a dock. And this happened for 2 to 3 years. So why is the MPP seeking a different set of treatment for Ken Ofori-Atta? I surmise that the OSP does not believe the excuses that Ken Ofori-Atta is given, and that would inform the reason why
doctor's report.
Yeah, but the OSP appears to have doubts about the credibility of the report. But the fundamental question I seek to, and I don't intend
well,
to...
first of all, the OSP says the doctor's report has not been brought to it.
Well, fine, but I have reason to believe, based on the OSP's posture, that he has significant doubts about the accuracy, authenticity, or if you like, the genuineness of that doctor's report. But the fundamental question that the MPP has to answer is that why do they treat one group of people one way and demand a difference of treatment when it comes to them? For instance, this won't to me matter. Of course, you can criticize the processes that are used in this. But can the MPP complain that in this account, it's the first time that anybody has been held in police custody or the custody of law enforcement in the manner that Wuntumi has been held? Why? You remember the Pegasus case, the NCA matter.
Right.
I'm sure you know that Mr. Tevi suffered from severe ailments, and yet he was dragged to court. No exception was made for him. Why is Ken Ofori-Atta? Why should Ken Ofori-Atta?
He was available. Ken is not available.
But the point is that whether you are available or not, if law enforcement determines that you must show up, you show up. And the history, as I have recounted, is that they don't discount, or if you like, they don't factor in the fact that you are well or unwell. The Attorney
General then didn't exercise the right to try him in absentia. Yes. They are now suggesting to the OSP that you try him in absentia.
At least in the case of the OSP, you can argue that he is an independent public official. So his actions are not necessarily influenced by a government.
Okay.
They were in government. They took the decision.
So
that despite the ill health of somebody whose incapacity you could clearly see at first glance.
Now hold on briefly for me.
Yes.
And hold on.
I will state it after.
And Samuel Apiadakun, responsible for strategy, research and communication. Give me just a couple of minutes. I understand you are itching and you are actually pointing to me that I'm not being fair, but hold on. Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdallah is neurosurgeon with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We have decided to get a different sort of perspective to all of these debates. Doc, thank you for your patience being online with us for all the time you have been. We want to engage you just for briefly. The medical report, as circulated, as we understand, by his lawyers, says that the Moyo Clinic, he's attending to treatment for prostate cancer. Is the OSP being fair in not granting him, some time to go through this treatment and feel well and then later deal with him at least? Please unmute your mic.
Yeah, good morning, Samson, and good morning to the other gentlemen in the studios, and thanks for having me. I must say that when it comes to fairness as a matter of law, it may be difficult for me to ascertain without knowing the conditions of the patient. Because when it comes to prostate cancer, we have different stratification of prostate cancer.
Tell us about prostate cancer generally and the kind of condition it puts the patient.
Yeah, so the patient might have just been diagnosed of prostate cancer, but it's stable, okay? And maybe there was just a small rise in the PSA level and further tests needs to be done. And then we also have advanced prostate cancer. So if in the case of an advanced prostate cancer, I would think that the person will need time to undergo treatment. So that is where maybe I would say maybe they are unfair to the person. So we need to know the state of the diagnosis.
From the letter, from the medical letter that we are reading from the Moyo Clinic, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen circulating on social media, it appears as at March, from the two letters that I've seen, as at March, it was clear that he will be undergoing surgery. So it's very difficult to reconcile the two letters, because the second letter now says that he had to undergo MRI-guided biopsy. So it means as at that time, no diagnosis have been made, unless Mayo want to send that information that the biopsy was the surgery that they were talking about. But usually biopsies are done as a day activities. Usually in Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, is done on the ward and patient goes home the same day. Some even do it in the clinics, so it's very difficult to reconcile.
Hold on, you say that you're saying that potentially this is a situation where the person could have walked into the hospital and the whatever procedure will be done and then they'll walk out?
Yes. This is what we do in Korle Bu, and I'm sure in many hospitals across the country where urological services is available.
So biopsy is not a surgery, is it?
Well, it's a form of a minor surgery, to say. It's a minor surgery, but it's not. It's surgery to gain diagnosis, to make a diagnosis, or to enable you make a tissue diagnosis, but it is not the surgery to remove the disease per se.
So is it not logical that from what we are reading, the biopsy was in March?
Yeah, when I read that letter, it doesn't appear the biopsy was done in March. It doesn't appear so. And like I said, the two letters are really difficult to reconcile in terms of the chronology of activities that they had scheduled for him. Unless maybe he did a PSA somewhere in February where they saw an increase in his PSA and then decided to do the biopsy in March. But usually for an advanced center like Mayo, I was expecting that if your PSA is very high, even in Korle Bu here, you'll be scheduled for biopsy as soon as possible because you don't know the aggressiveness of the tumor. So why would you wait for that long before you go and get like a tissue biopsy to know how aggressive the tumor is?
Going to this hospital, does it not suggest to you that the situation is quite dire? That's why perhaps Ghana, we can't get a treatment or we can't help or we can't do it as best as is possible. That's why he's gone there.
I think it has to do with his personal decision. But when it comes to prostate cancer treatment, Ghana is one of the most advanced in terms of prostate cancer diagnosis and treatment in the sub-region, where we've had high-level government officials in the sub-region across many West African countries and in country as well, including members of the previous government and members of this government.
Okay.
I say this because I've had the opportunity to even treat some of them as a neurosurgeon who have undergone this cancer treatment in the hands of people like Professor J.E. Mensah, and they've survived for all these years and needed spine surgery later on. That is how I got to even know about it. I've actually looked at what Mayo does, and I don't think that there is anything special that they would do for a prostate cancer patient that does not really exist in Ghana or change the prognosis of the patients, unless maybe there are some trials they are doing in terms of chemotherapy, immunotherapy.
Okay.
And we have an oncology unit here. Those drugs could be flowing.
Dr. Adi,
just not to cut you short, just to buttress this point, during the time of COVID, when our people couldn't fly out of this country, there were drugs that were flown in that were said to be the best for the management of COVID. That was given to some of these politicians because they couldn't fly out of the country.
All right.
So it is not beyond the capacity of the urologists of Ghana to diagnose prostate cancer and manage prostate cancer. I don't think there is big difference between what Mayo would have done than what Kolibu would have done.
Yes, but like you said, it's a personal choice. Thank you very much, Doc, for this intervention. At least gives me an idea of prostate cancer and how it is dealt with and so on and so forth. And you can see that he does all he can to give Ken the benefit of the doubt in the circumstances. But like he said, ordinarily, some of these things, you just, you walk in, you get treated and you move out. But if it gets to an advanced stage, then you may have to be in a situation where you deserve some time. Samuel Apiadako, why is the OSP so ego bruised, as Dennis Miracle is saying, and why are you so not wanting to innovate around the law like Kofi Bentil is proposing, to deal with the person via video or wait for him to be available?
Thank you very much, Samson. There are a few matters that I may have to clarify, although some of them have been clarified. So the first leg has to do with this assertion, which was beginning to gain grounds, that why is it that the OSP travel to United Kingdom? It's important that we also deal with it, because it's been thrown about as if we are very...
So tell us why.
We are very unfair and unreasonable. The OSP had issued Interpol Red Notice for 4 British citizens, including Samuel Mahama. And it had become apparent to us after 5 years or more that the UK authorities were unwilling to enforce the extradition. So because they were British citizens. So there had to be mutual agreement for us to be able to go onto their soil and do investigation. You know, you cannot just go to another country and just start doing investigation. It's unlawful, you can't do that. So that's one of the reasons. The other leg I want to talk about is try in absentia. I've also noticed it being thrown about. And I've been wondering, where is this coming from? Because if you read Article 19.3, there are 2 conditions under which you can try someone in absentia. The first one is that the person's character is very disruptive. And then the second one is that the person, after being placed, after becoming an accused person, decide not to appear in person. So if you look at Article 19, abscons. So if you look at Article 19.3, in all the cases, they are accused persons. As we speak, Ken Ofori-Atta is not an accused person. He is a suspect. And if I've heard some people also go to Act 30 and they quote Section 60 and says that
Act 30 is our criminal procedure.
Criminal procedure. You can file charges and just let it go. And if you check, those of you who have your Act 30, just look at it. It only says that, it only gives you the criminal procedure processes. It says that you can do so by a warrant or you can do so by a summons. Now, when we say a warrant, it means that the law enforcement agency will go to a court of law and will file. Sometimes you go by a motion, sometimes you go by affidavit and the police extract. And then you will detail the offense for which you are looking for the person, and then it will be granted you. Or you go by the second process where you go to a district court judge where you file a complaint, and a district court judge will then issue a warrant for police to carry it out. So either way, you come back to the same process where a person has to be taken through the process of arrest. So when they talk about trial in absentia, I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't you let us finish with the processes of arrest before you then bring in trial in absentia? But it's being bandied around as if the OSP is unreasonable.
So a person must get to the point of being named as an accused
Yes, then
before you can consider trying absentia, and not when they are suspect.
Yes, they've been confusing the complaint you file under Section 60 of Act 30 as if that is what gives you a process to do a civil. No, that's because the judge will still have to issue a warrant for the person to be arrested. And in all these two scenarios, whether by a warrant straight away by the law enforcement agency in court or by a summons, you still detail the offense for which you are looking for him. Some people have said that we have not filed any. Well, of course, we have a warrant for Ken Ofori-Atta, and a warrant is based on an offense, using public office for profit, if people have not seen it. And then there's another one about because you put him on Interpol or because we list him on our wanted list, it means we've done something wrong. Law enforcement across the world have two procedures. Before we declare someone wanted, we will go for a warrant from a court of law. So it's not true that OSP just issues a warrant.
When did you get a warrant for this? Because that has become an issue.
I think somewhere in February. That's when we went for the warrant for Mr. Ofori-Atta.
Okay.
Warrant is taken purposely to arrest you.
Yeah, so not to declare him wanted.
You cannot declare a person wanted. I know you come in. Let me help him here. You cannot declare a person wanted when you are not searching to arrest the person. Yes. The only reason why so let me go back. The OSP, IOCO, and the Ghana police, they do not require a warrant to arrest a suspect. We don't need it. Act 30 says that we can arrest you with a warrant or we can arrest you without a warrant. The only reason why sometimes we go for a warrant is to cure all doubt. Sometimes you go, they are very violent and all that, so we go for, and then the most crucial one, if you find us go for an arrest warrant, it means that we are not able to locate you. So we want people to help us arrest you. And the only way to do that is to be able to get around the warrant and then declare one. That's why you even have the FBI wanted list. And they have the most wanted list. They even have two. And people are placed there all the time. It doesn't mean that you have abused that person's rights.
As we understand, this warrant is actually in the courtroom now. And this is the warrant that the OSP is referring to. So you can see warrant to arrests. Then you find it the Supreme Court of Ghana.
I don't even think we should display this to the public.
But it's already in the courtroom, so we know it's a matter of public.
Yes.
And it's issued on the 12th day of February 2025. Okay, go on.
So quickly, I beg you.
I know
you just said that.
Wait, let him finish.
But some information there was problematic.
And so the whole point is that when we declare someone wanted, law enforcement agencies have intrinsic power to also project such a person so that whoever finds the person can bring the person to, especially in country. And that's what the OSP does on its website and on its social media handle. It's done everywhere. So when the OSP does this and it appears a group of people are trying to project as if we are being unfair, I don't even understand because it's a standard procedure.
When Bentil spoke about that here, he's not speaking about just the OSP. He's saying that like all other law enforcement are doing this, as far as he's concerned, it should not be done. He's not saying only OSP does it.
No,
because we know that all the other law enforcement agencies, they do this.
So I was always responding to.
Okay.
Then when we cannot find you in country and you're outside, that is when we activate the Interpol Red Notice. The Interpol system is just to help law enforcement across the world, 196 countries, so that we can, so I cannot find you in Ghana, but I can find you in UK. They will arrest you, hold you there till an extradition process comes in and brings you back.
In this case, you know his whereabouts. In this case, his lawyers have written to you. In this case, you know that he's unwell. So why the red notice asking how many countries to be searching for him?
I would have loved that his lawyers were here to answer a few questions. I'm sure that with the processes in court, we'll be asking some questions again. But if you say that we know where he is, if we know where he is by the say-so of his lawyers, right? So, and we also have our own intelligence. There are not a lot of things that we can tell the public. So the fact that they've said that he's in the United States, and I know that on JoyNews you did try to ask him whether the lawyer which part of the United States, and he wouldn't even tell you. But suffice to say, The only letters that the lawyers have brought to the attention of the OSP was, so let's do the chronology. In February, as you are aware, after we pressed him, he did bring a definitive date and a timeline. He said he was going to do a surgery in March. He didn't say he was going to do diagnostic procedures, as the doctor was alluding to. Diagnostic procedures is when you do the biopsy and all that. He didn't say that. He said he was going to do a surgery, 21st March. That's when the OSP gave him some time. And he said he would need 1 month to recuperate. And his doctor actually said that. So we gave him time. So you need 1 month, we'll bring him to April. But we said that come 2nd June, we gave him. So you see that they wrote to us on 28th February. That's some 3 days ahead of the press conference to say that in that letter, they even acknowledge that we have indulged them, because the lawyers start by saying that, thank you for indulging us. And then they go ahead to say that he has prostate cancer and that he won't come because he's slated for a surgery. They don't attach any medical record. It's just the piece of letter that they bring. No attachment, nothing. They don't tell us about what happened in March. Was he able to do the surgery and why didn't he come? Nothing of that sort. And then suddenly we see another piece of letter from a hospital addressed to nobody to whom it may concern. Because remember, the OSP currently is the law enforcement agency that's at least that has come out to say it is investigating you. I know others are also investigating him. But if you want to address us, then an official letter must come from Mayo Clinic addressed to the special prosecutor and then detailing whatever is going to. Now,
you're saying you have received a letter, but your problem is that it's addressed to whom it may concern.
I've said that we have received a letter through his lawyers that details that he's going to do a surgery without any medical record attached to it. Then we have seen a second letter that they leaked through Asase Radio and spread all over. In that letter, we see a letter that is coming from a hospital, but that letter is addressed to whom it may concern. And I'm saying that even if that is the purported medical letter, it can't even be a medical letter because it is merely a letter stating that he will go through a surgery. And I'll come back to something very soon.
They suggest that this letter is in a stash of documents in which you must know that it is available to you.
That's what I'll come to. I'm saying that that piece of letter which we have seen, that letter even is not addressed to the special prosecutor or to a court. It is to whom it may concern from a doctor that has signed. Of course, we know Mayo. Mayo is a place where you can even bring your own doctors from anywhere. They grant you the facility to use it. So our point is that we have checked even Mayo. I did my research, not even the office. And I noticed that at Mayo, a patient, they have said that they don't want law enforcement or family members to bombard them with cross-checking things. So Mayo has an online portal that says that a patient has the right to give third parties access. So if, for instance, Mr. Ofori-Atta wanted us to see his medical record, all he needed to do is to grant us access. Mayo says that once the patient grants you access, you will see the entire medical report.
I've seen that as well.
Yes, so it's online that he could have chosen, but he didn't.
Right.
Now we are told that on the 27th, they filed an affidavit, a supplementary affidavit, because they've already in court trying to get the court to declare that we had declared him wanted without an arrest warrant. We have produced to the court that we declared him wanted with a warrant. They have filed a supplementary
affidavit. We have shown that warrant to the world now.
They filed a supplementary affidavit in which they are seeking, among other things. But in that supplementary affidavit, it was filed on the 27th, but it was served on the office somewhere on Tuesday or Wednesday. So it was not before we did a press conference. That's why we said that we didn't see. But in that supplementary affidavit, they list a number of documents they've attached. And in that supplementary affidavit, which I have a copy, I can let you have a look at it, they don't attach a medical record, although the letter from the purported doctor lists some attachment. But nowhere in the court document have they attached it. And it now makes sense to us in the letter that came from the lawyers to us. They had indicated that if we wanted to see his medical record, they could meet us somewhere and show us. Or they could let the court know and then we'll go to court and view it. Our point is that it is not us who have to show anything. It is you who is seeking excuse. You have to take that steps and show us. In any case, our point is that in all the letters that we have seen, nowhere in the letter does it say that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated.
Okay.
And something, just finally, our point is that you can be sick, but you still have to face law enforcement. The only time you can say law enforcement should excuse you is when, 1, you are bedridden. 2, you can't even talk. You can't move. Nothing at all. You can't travel. The question we're asking that between February and June 2nd, has Mr. Ofori-Atta traveled or not? Has he been sick on a hospital bed in Mayo from February up to now? Because his letters are conflicting. The current letter says that he finished diagnostic procedures in March. Now, if you finish diagnostic procedure in March, then you have April, May, June to have come to us before your next surgery.
Question: why can't you do a video conference with him?
I thought I had answered that. The point is that for you to take a caution statement, and that's why the special prosecutor says something, that it appears that suspect Ken Ofori-Atta is trying to tell the OSP how, 1, to arrest him, how, 1, to investigate him, and 3, how we should conduct our work. That is not up to him to say. Now he sends us a letter and says that I want you to take my caution statement through video conferencing. How do we take a caution statement when we have not even taken you through any arrest procedure? And how do you know that it is just a caution statement we want to take from you? We are the ones doing the investigation, and we say that your presence is needed. Other than that, something, this is what is going to happen. From what he's telling us, everybody in Ghana, including Wuntumi, when Yoko said he should come, all Wuntumi should have said was that, if you have evidence, things against me, go to court and file it. Don't come to me. So the hundreds of people who have been arrested by police today, all of them should tell Ghana police that I don't need to come before you. Go to court and file your charges, and then I will come there and send my lawyers there. That would be absurd.
Can't you make an exception, or you are afraid that when you do that, you open the floodgates?
It's not about exception. It's about what the rules are. And I'm trying to say that the rule is that you must go through a certain procedure before you can take a person's caution statement. We are not done with that.
Okay.
For instance, we cannot arrest him through Zoom.
Okay.
And if we can arrest you by law, we cannot take a caution statement from you. That's why...
But the OSP itself has said that whether or not he makes himself available, you are proceeding to press your charges at the last press conference.
Yes, he did say that. He talked about trial absentia, but it has to be understood in context, which is that we would have done the Interpol process, which is an arresting procedure and all that, and we'll be able to move ahead with that.
So you must first hit a snag with all the processes. You must exhaust all of it.
Yes, we must do something like that before that. So I want to state on record and to tell Ghanaians that the OSP has been very fair and professional in handling. Mr. Ofori-Atta is not the only person who we are investigating. As we speak, there are over 30 people who are on bail right now that nobody knows about them. And yet they will be facing charges very soon in court. But nobody has heard about them. They are on bail. They are the only ones who know that they've come before OSP.
Okay. Right. Now we know that you guys, what you do is invitation. You don't go arresting people. But when you invite us, we know that you are going to arrest us. Now we know from you, from what you have said. So there is a certain correction that we need to make. That there was a reference to the Dr. Anemana situation. We understand that, when the trial started, lasted about 2 years and not over 2 years. When the trial started, I think his condition was not what it was when it was going on.
Sometimes it was.
And that throughout the trial, they conducted the proceedings at his pleasure. No. So that if he's not too well, they allowed him some time, and...
Something finish. But you see, you are responding to me. We don't have time. Something. From day one, Dr. Adimana came in a wheelchair. You could see clearly that he was undergoing kidney treatment. He had hearing impairment. He had visual impairment. It was only on one occasion where he got a crisis, so the court closed. In another instance, he was actually admitted for 2 months at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital while the trial was ongoing.
Was it 3 years?
It was 2 years. It was December 2022 to around October 2020.
Okay.
So 2 years.
Okay. Yes. All right. So as we know, in that case, eventually he was allowed to go to India for treatment. And then subsequently there was a nolle prosequi entered for him.
Because at that point they saw that the man could not even speak in court. So what was he doing in court?
All right. Thank you.
The man could not even speak.
Exaggeration.
But I'm not exaggerating. It's true.
And Eid Mubarak to our Muslim friends, and for us to say thank you for patronizing Konati Clothing, the manner you have done. Ahead of Father's Day, there's again a 10% discount treatment for all who will make their orders from Konati Clothing for their outfit. The number to call is 0244 676732. 0244 676732. That's the contact to deal with. I'd like to say at this point that there are tons of messages that have come in. I was hoping that I could share just one of them. I was hoping, I thought I was off air. Please forgive me. The OSP went to London because Samuel Mahama is not a Ghanaian and an ordinary resident in the UK. He had no choice. He's ordinary resident there. Then a number of things. Kakra Samoa says that I was arrested by Iyoko under the Akufo-Addo government. I was charged. I bailed myself and walked away. Ken is afraid, or what is happening? Too many of your messages, and lawyers, all of you sending in messages. Thank you all very much. That's all time will allow us. And I need to say that, yes, this program is brought to you by Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go, Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa, Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years, DBS Industries, Roofing, Papapa Fee, My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. Syntex Tank is strong, it's tough. And Activa Insurance, they are proudly associated with Newsfile, which you have enjoyed for 30 years or so now. Have a good afternoon.